So that's your job. And your job is to be willing to die. You're a soldier, man. You're so on the front line. You've gone too far to turn back. If you went and hid in a basement for 6 weeks, people all over the world would think the government had killed you. So you have to understand your obligation, what the universe have gave you. And so just wants you to know. Man, I looked at that smile on your face just now. And the first time I ever wished I was a photographer, to take that picture and let the world see that honesty and that integrity. And know some of the things I know, how you'll drive all over the country to chase us down.
It's like I'm stalking though.
You hear me?
Yes, sir.
Chase us down. Okay?
I do feel like I have an obligation for people. I mean, it's bigger than me.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
But no, being business, you can't see it. It was business to Trump. He saw nothing.
All right.
Okay? Well, I just saw it, that smile. Okay. And so again, I just say, man, I thank you. I look at Kathy Hughes, what she's able to do with that show. I look at Carl Nelson, the Joe Madisons. You know, some can go further than others because some got leeway. But I just say, man, to sit here, and just, my birthday, it's a weekend. Thank you for contributing to my birthday. You know, all I say is thank you. We move so fast. I don't know if you're married, I don't know if you're a family, I don't know if you're a wife. But when we get on here, we bosom friends. Anytime I see you, I stop whatever I'm doing. Hey, my man, how are you? Hey. Hey, man, what, you know? I owe that to you. Because together, we can beat this thug. Because it's the universal God. And so again, I just say thank you. Thank you for running me down, man. So again, but that's the obligation that you have. How old are you?
I'm 36.
So you don't have the right to do what 36 people do. You don't have the right to go to the dance or go to the party. You don't have a right to take that trip to Europe when I might need that plane fare to fly somebody else to feed my people that love me. You feed them. Oh, it's one thing being hungry from food.
Right.
There's another thing being hungry for information.
That's right.
And that's you the feeder. You got to be the farmer. You got to grow the crop. You got to till the grain. And at nighttime, when you hear something that sounds like water, you got to go see if the crop's going to be flooded. That's your job, man.
Yes, sir.
And then you got to deal with people that think you're crazy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
No, that's their way out. I'm embarrassed that you told me this, and I didn't know it, so I think you're crazy. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Baba Gregory, and the words of the great Duke Ellington. We love you madly. Keep on producing and pushing.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Welcome back. Guess who's back and still black? It's Brother Ron, and this is We All Be News Free Dixie for the 21st century. We all about the business of educating and empowering the masses. The words of great Martin Luther King Jr. Human salvation lies in the hands of the creatively maladjusted. We have a special guest coming on today as he make his way to the dais. Okay. I'm gonna warm up the crowd a little bit. It was great late last night, early morning, coming back out there touching bases with my people, my tribe, the herd mentality. What's the word from Brother Herd? It's good. I'm feeling good, feeling great. Like I said, I just came out my vision quest, and I want to make a correction from yesterday. That was not my first time these last, couple weeks. Not being up in New England and Boston. Some of y'all say it's not New England. Is it's the Northeast, whatever. It's New England, Connecticut, New Hampshire, Connecticut, Rhode Island. I said Connecticut twice. Massachusetts, Maine. I consider it the New England. The New England Patriots don't just represent Boston. It represents all of those several states, I guess. And yeah, so I'm thankful and grateful to be here talking to you all today. So that was actually my second time up in New England. I just never been to Massachusetts. I didn't go to Massachusetts the first time. So within the last 2 years, I made 2 trips up to New England, coming from Memphis, Tennessee, 1,000+ mile trip, 2,000 miles round trip, So I have get a lot of information that I'd like to share with you all. There's a lot going on in the news cycle, but I look forward to providing my own spin on what's going on. It's a very interesting time to be alive. If you are an adult, you should not be bored at all, because there's a lot of stuff going on. And you should also be making stuff happen in your own personal life as well as professional life. I'm looking forward to coming on here more often, being more consistent, and also producing content. I have figured out this year, thanks to the the gift that is AI, that I am a songwriter. I've been writing songs, and basically I've been taking stuff I have written over the past, cleaning up a little bit and just, dumping it, prompting, all that stuff, making songs. And it's been a very unique experience. The creative process of creating music is awesome. Like, I know I play trumpet and all that stuff, but right now I'm looking to push my horizons to greater horizons. I'm looking to do exceptional things over the next coming seasons, months, and years. I look forward to contributing a lot more than I have ever done in my life, in more ways than one. I'm looking forward to not only elevating my profile, but also elevating all of us, because we all be in it to win it. So as we wait on the honorable one, let me just talk about some things that's been on my mind. I have realized something that is very important. I want you to hear me clear. When you love people who are classified as addicts, when you love someone who's an addict, it'll be different forms of addiction, right? Addiction is a beast. It's a very much a real and live demon. A lot of times they do not have the capacity to truly love you back. I want people to understand that when you love somebody, you care for somebody that has addiction issues, they don't have the capacity or wherewithal to love you back. I remember a person once told me, I wish you met her some years back. She is not who she is today. She was a different person. And addiction can change a person, personality, or maybe it can enhance or bring out certain things that were repressed in a person's personality. But I had a person told me, I wish you would have met her years ago, Brother Ron. She was a different person. And so sometimes I'm a hard-headed person. I'm a Taurus. I'm hard-headed. I'm determined. A lot of people think a Taurus is stubborn, but no, we're determined. We're persistent, insistent, and consistent. So you need that to be successful in any field. Yeah, you got to know when to hold them and when to fold them, but you also need to have a work ethic to get anything worth having out of this life. Some things can be given to people, but there's no such thing as a free lunch or a free ride. Everything comes with a cost, whether realized or hidden. There's a cost to be paid. But when you deal with a person that you care about that has an addiction problem, they don't really have it in them to care about you. Not because they're necessarily bad people, but because they are devoted to chasing something that they experienced one time. When I mean by that, they're devoted to chasing a high that they could never get again. So they'll consume everything and everyone in their path to get this high that they could never have again, and to also escape what is known as, to some of us, as their reality, as reality. They don't want to deal with the day-to-day. They can't function really with the day-to-day thing. And really, it's interesting, the life of an addict, because I say this because see, like an addict, a lot of times they seem like they're stuck in life somewhere, like they're afraid to live, but they're also afraid to die. You know, because my thing is like, it's just a slow form of death to me when you are an addict, because the thing will eventually bring you down. You know, they say Father Time and Mother Nature is undefeated. So when you deal with an addict, understand that you are never a priority to them. Not because they may not like you or whatever, because they don't have the room or capacity to make anybody a priority, because they cannot reciprocate what you give. You got to be in the understanding that when you help a so-called addict, that you're not going to get a thank you, that you're not going to get appreciation, because how can they have capacity to appreciate you when they can't really appreciate or love themselves? Addiction is very selfish. You can't serve two masters. When you're addicted to something that consumes you, you don't have the wherewithal to be in substantial relationships. When you are a partner of a person who has an addiction, you are basically their caretaker. You give up your right to live a life that you want in order to help, quote unquote, a person that is slowly destroying themselves. And really, it eats up at the caretaker. A lot of caretakers get burnt out and exhausted. It's a thankless job because, baby, you are helping, even though you mean well, you are helping a person to self-destruct. You are really an enabler. And, you know, it's sad to see somebody that, you know, have flashes of brilliance go out that way. It's like it's a slow form of taking yourself out of here. And really, it speaks to a fear of living, a fear of dying. But, you know, like when you in that state, you just give up on trying. And you got to pray for people like that. They'll do things to hurt you, but it's really not about you. I have learned recently, a person that I love and care about, I have tried to do things for, got my way. They couldn't receive that. They saw me just as a tool to get what they want. I was just a tool. A lot of times people think I'm a fool. Maybe I am a fool. Like, I will help people that I see are in distress. You know, I'm a chronic people pleaser. I'm getting over that now. I'm in my villain era, so I'm leaving that behind, being a people pleaser, because what I understand, if a person cannot please or satisfy themselves, no matter whatever the best you give of yourself, they can never receive that. Whatever the best you give to them, it will never be enough for them, because they can't really be satisfied with their own self. There's something off with them that you cannot fix. So you got to get out the understanding that when you deal with a person that's an addict, it's not about fixing that person. You got to be able to accept that person for who they are. That's it. You know, this is what you're going to get. What you see is basically what you're going to get. They're sick. They are in no shape to give you love. They cannot help you. You end up draining and drowning with them a lot of times when you try to deal with an addict. There's no win. Like, my thing in relationships are hurt. Your relationships with a person shouldn't hurt you. It shouldn't drain you. It shouldn't undermine or destroy you. A person that you are in a relationship with should be able to reciprocate love, support, overstanding, nourishment, all that stuff. If you are in a relationship where you're not receiving support, love, and nourishment and overstanding, that is not a relationship. It's a trap. It's a form of emotional slavery. It's codependency. I cannot stand that. As I get older, I value my peace of mind so much more, even among the chaos. When I can have peace of mind and solitude and ability to reflect and regenerate myself, I value that more than any chaotic relationship with any woman or anybody else in the world, family included. I'm at that point right now where I just cannot allow anybody to undermine what God has given me to manifest. Even if I love this person, I cannot allow this person to undercut the gift that God gave me to give to the world. And I got a lot going on that I look forward to sharing over the next 5 years with the people. And only by the grace of the Most High and the righteous ancestors that I am here telling you all, because I really shouldn't be here. It's things that have happened that I'm not going to talk about in my podcast, that maybe for a later time, but I have been reflecting on. And the person that I'm talking about, may they find forgiveness of themselves. May they find some type of peace in the chaos and the madness that is life. I wish them all the best. I don't really see myself dealing with this person on any level. I can't, because this is like God has gave me something. Y'all don't realize I spend a lot of time in cemeteries for reflection, for meditation, for groundedness. When I walk among cemeteries, I'm always fascinated with the markers, how people choose to remember and honor their loved ones. I'm also taken aback by the markers, grave tombstones, and whatnot. They have pictures of the deceased, of the beloved. I look at their lifeline. I look at, sunrise, got the dash, and then the sunset, right? The dash is the life, right? It's the meat between the sandwich buns, right? I often wonder, the person that's laying there, their remains, whatever, did they live the life that they wanted to live? Did they realize things they wanted to realize? Did their dreams come true? Were they happy while they were here? Were they impactful? Were they loving? Were they lovable? Or did they die a life unfulfilled? Like people talk about the quiet lives of desperation that people lead. Most people are not living the life that they want. A lot of us are living lives we think people should think we want. We're not living or staying true to who we were, or who we, why we came here. We all are here for a reason, but that reason get lost in the sauce a lot of times. It gets diluted, it gets forgotten about, because we buy into this system thing, this matrix. And I wasn't sent here to be a part of the chaos. I was sent here to put the chaos down by any means necessary. I was sent here to right wrongs, to live my best life while giving the best that I got. This is why I'm here. And I had to do, I like driving, like marathon drives, like driving 15 hours. I love it because it gives me a chance to reflect upon my life choices, where my life is now and where I want to head. And like I said, coming back to Memphis from the East Coast, I encountered a lot of heavy, dense fog in East Tennessee. Soon I got, closer to East Tennessee from Virginia, fog started accumulating out of nowhere. It seems like a horror movie. It's just dense. I can barely see in front of me at times. So I turn on my flashlight, my emergency lights, let people know I'm here. I'll turn up my lights intensity, my headlights intensity, and I was fighting through it. And it's a miracle when you think about, I drove that amount of time, basically 9 hours, in fog and weather that was not conducive to high visibility. Yeah, I was able to drive mostly in the nighttime with just my headlights turned up and some emergency lights, and I kept on the road. Even when it was curves and stuff and 18-wheelers swerving, I was able to stay on the road and keep my eyes on the prize. And really, that was life all about, to be able to overcome adversities and distractions and still stay focused on your destination. That's the beauty of it. So I have learned a lot about me in these last 4 weeks, and I'm thankful to God that He had provided providence for me as I made my way through the valleys and through the wilderness and whatnot. And I realize now, Brother Ron, if you don't love yourself, then nobody can really love you. If you don't love yourself, then nobody else can really love you. If you don't love yourself, then nobody else can really love you. So with that said, I'm checking on my guest. See what he doing. Colin, I know y'all want to see the judge or hear from him. Just checking in, see how he's doing. And also, like I said, I could talk about things. I'm well versed and well read.
Hello there.
Hey, Judge, how you doing?
All right.
Yeah, I got you. Got the link?
Well, let me see. I'm having phone problems, but I'll try.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to. Well, no problem here, but let me bring this up. Okay. Last call. Okay, I got it. Let me
Yes,
get
sir.
into this.
Well, we see you soon.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
So Judge is coming. I haven't fooled y'all. Judge Joe Brown is making his rounds. Okay. And yes, I'm gonna bring in a one eye, I guess now. Brother Phil, are you there? I can't hear you, man. Let's see. So got Brother Phil in. Feels good. Yeah. It feels good. Let's see. I'm gonna bring him back in. Hey, Brother Phil, you there? Trying to bring in Phil. We had a great conversation last night. I don't know if he's coming in. But anyway, yeah, that love thing is a fierce thing, man. Like I said, I had to make a choice, and I feel like it's the best choice for me moving forward in terms of like protecting my peace. Like I said, I was thinking about maybe I should step back from even dating women right now and just focus on me because it's just really treacherous out here, man. Because people pretend to be something they ain't online, got a lot of filters and all this stuff, and then you meet them in person. It's another story. And like I said, it takes a lot to get to know people. Not just romantically, but just to get to know anybody. You got to invest some time, and you got to have some honesty and transparency with it on both sides. Like you got to be a little bit vulnerable with the person that you got trying to know, and vice versa. But by right now, it's like it's not even worth my time, to be honest with you, at this time, to be trying to pursue a relationship with people when God got a lot for me. God said if I show up, He'll show out for me. And so I'm gonna keep on showing up. I'm gonna let God show out for me and advocate for me, because I think that's very important who you let into your life like that. That determines the quality of your life. Like if you deal with an addict, best believe you're gonna be taking care of an addict. You're gonna be a caretaker. You know what I'm saying? Especially if they get older with their addictions, their health will worsen and they'll be more dependable. Sometimes you can deal with a person that got a horrible personality, very resentful. Sometimes they can be violent, some of these people. And you got to have patience like Job and be committed and loyal to a certain degree. But is that really a relationship where you getting depleted and the person is just consuming everything of you and not reciprocating? So I'm learning now, I don't want none of that. Now, things can happen in any relationship, like in a marriage. It says for better or for worse. People could get ill health at any moment. Their economic fortunes can change. And you don't think about that when you're younger. You think you're invincible. When you get older, you kind of feel your mortality, your vulnerability, especially as you notice people going on to glory. And sometimes not even older people, but it's a lot of young people getting out of here on the rapture thing or whatever. So what they said, it's very important to practice unapologetically, be unapologetic about practicing self-care. Like be unapologetic about saying no and maintaining boundaries for folks that you love, especially those that you love, because they to be the ones that be recurring, coming back for seconds and thirds and fourth. And I noticed it's interesting when you could do a lot for a person and be there a lot of times for a person. And if you tell them no one time, all that kindness and generosity you shown to them over the years, it gets wiped off the board. It gets forgotten about. You the worst person in the world. And what I learned, even dealing with an addict, is that you gotta be okay being a villain in their story. Like whatever they tell people about y'all relationship, about you as a person, I wouldn't even try to defend it. It's their choice. It's their reason. They got a reason to portray you like that. I'm not innocent. I have done things. I could do things better. I have learned from setbacks and mistakes. I have accepted accountability. But what I'm saying, when people tell people about you, let them be, man. That's their version of you. Sometimes they're better storytellers. Really, sometimes a villain can come out looking good because, like, they'll say, "Hey, girl, he actually was trying to help you. I know you said he was being mean and selfish when he told you no, but he was trying to stop you from destroying yourself. So you really think he was the bad guy in that story?" But it is what it is, and I'm okay with it because it's not about validation from people. Because I know my heart, I know my intentions. And you got to be careful and not let people gaslight you or mislead you about you. Stop letting people define you for yourself. You define yourself. Now, what they say about you, you have no authority or control over. But how you view yourself and how you show up in the world, you do have a say in that. You do have a little bit more control. As I get older, I realize the value of finding out where my leverage is, what I can do something about, and when I cannot do something about. Just pray and maintain my peace, my calm. When I deal with anybody, I don't think I should have to put hands on you. You shouldn't have to put hands on me. We should be able to conduct ourselves as rational, civilized, humane beings. Now, there's a climate going on. A lot of brothers and men don't want to talk about it, but there are violent women out there. There are women that will put their hands on you, destroy your property, and then cry wolf to the authorities. They'll turn on the tier works, the waterworks, as they say. They will set you up for the fail, bro. There are men in prisons, in graves right now that was set up by women. And people say, well, why you gotta put this on women? Because women, a lot of times, a lot of women don't like to be held accountable for anything. They don't like to be caught out about anything. What I learned about dealing with some women, not all women, I don't deal with all women. I deal with some women. Is that a lot of them don't want to be called out or be held accountable. And a lot of them don't want your help as far as like helping them. Like I've learned that some women, like I always say some, because some women like to just complain about their life and talk about their problems. And that's it. They just want somebody to listen, complain about their life, and talk about their problems. Whereas if you're a man, I want, oh, my baby's hurting. My girl, my wife, my woman, she's in pain. She's distraught. Let me come up with a solution to alleviate her pain, to get her out this being distraught. You offer solutions as a man. It's like, man, you're not even listening to me. I just want you to listen. I don't want you to solve my problem. See, that's the world. The system is not about solving problems. Even the greater matrix that we live in, it's not about solving problems. It's about making a profit off of pain. It's about, blowing up a problem. It's not about de-escalating. It's about escalating. And fellas, please be careful of the woman you choose to be with. Because a woman will take a small, minute thing and escalate it and amplify it. That woman will get you caught up or worse. If you type of brother where you say, I want to de-escalate, I want to be the peacemaker, and a woman said, you a weak MF, you a weak, why you want to be bringing peace? I'm about the war. I'm about chaos. If a woman will bring unnecessary chaos and a warlike mentality within your home, within your safe space, that woman is not for you. She's an agent of chaos. She was sent by the devil himself. I have seen for myself a woman get mad at me. Her eyes turn all the way black. I mean, pupils, everything was black. Then she started speaking in a way I could not even understand what she was saying. And I was playing with fire then, but God and the ancestors looked out for me. And I chose to touch the stove again, and I got burnt again. But the thing about it is, God still showed me grace and mercy. Ancestors still looked out for me because God has given me a vision, a mission, my assignment to do. So I got to honor that. But It was amazing. I have seen people transform before my eyes. People I thought who were meek, homeless, young people looking for shelter become Satan or a representative of Satan or Lucifer or devil's advocate. It's amazing. I saw this recently. A person went from I just need a donation to like what's your thing? What's your kink? What's your kick? I got everything you need. What you want? You want some heroin? You want some crack? You want some cocaine? What's your fetish? I seen that. I said, who did I just talk to? This person went from being, I'm homeless, I'm looking for shelter. Can you donate this? I give you that to like, what's your thing? What's your flavor? What you get wet for? So that's all that happened recently. And, just be careful, man. Just be careful out here dealing with people, man. Even family. Keep your peace and keep your space. So important. It's so important that you realize that. And when you get a chance, look into the eyes of an addict. Look into the eyes of an addict and see if anybody's home. Because a lot of times they're demonically possessed. I have seen pictures of an addict that I have a lot of love and respect for. I seen when she was younger. And I look at her when she's now, when how she is now. I seen when she was younger, the life she had, just the inner beauty emanating from her photos when she was a younger person, about maybe 20, 15 years ago. That's the person I wish I could have encountered before she had whatever traumatic experience happened to her. That would have been the person I would have loved to have built a life with and share a legacy with. That person is down there somewhere deep inside, but it's buried under all the trauma, under all the confusion. And I hope one day that that person will be at peace. But my thing is, I just can't no more. I had to throw in the towel with loved ones, dealing with them, trying to be a helper, a giver, a caretaker, a sustainer. I had to let that go and make peace. Ironically, the person I had to give distance with as far as my family, as well as the person that I have a lot of love for, who's an addict, they both got addiction issues, and they both have the same birthday. They both got addiction issues, and they both have the same birthdays. And I found myself this year, I had to put some distance between them, both of them, for my peace of mind, for whatever sanity I have, and for like I need to focus my energies on things that are going to reciprocate and bear fruit. It's pointless to be caught up with people that are caught up in a malaise, in a whirlwind of chaos. You can't build with people that got their foundation in quicksand. All they're gonna do is bring you down with them. So it's important to realize that and to give yourself grace, give them grace. I don't know what life has in store for anybody, especially myself. I really don't. I live day to day, moment to moment, grateful that I'm breathing, that I'm talking to you all right now. And what I have learned is that you should not feel sorry for yourself too long. It's okay to get in your ruts, to have some depression from time to time. What is not okay is to stay in your rut and to stay in your depression for longer than what you needed, because life moves and comes at you fast. Things are constantly moving, changing, evolving, and life will continue with or without you. That's the thing. No matter what you're going through, how much pain you're in, life doesn't stop for anybody. So understand that. Understand that pain and misery is only temporary. It's seasonal, like the weather. It changes from day to day, from moment to moment, from month to from month, whatever. Learn how to use your bad stuff for good things. Learn how to alchemy your bad stuff for good things. that's what I've been doing with the art, like, getting into songwriting, things of that nature, has really opened my eyes up to the opportunities of what life can have in store for me. And with that said, I guess I like to share some music as we wait for Judge Joe Brown to come in to the show. Have no fear, Brother Ron is here. Okay, it's all good in the neighborhood. One love, baby, baby. Let me see. I've been working on some tunes. I ain't know I had songwriter in me. I got a lot of famous people in my family that are songwriters. People like Sister Rosetta Tharpe. I believe she wrote songs. Got people calling. I'm related to Curtis Mayfield, Marvin Gaye's a cousin, Big Miller, and some other famous people. But what I'm gonna play my Jimmy Lunsford stuff, some of it. And we'll be back after this commercial break or this music interlude, because we all be in it to win it. We all be News Free Dixie.
Business. And he did it well. Jimmy Lunsford is a rhythm giant, the real king of swing. Can you dig it? Although you went to your blue heaven over 70 years ago, your songs and films are still around, entertain another generation of unsuspecting yet joyful fans. However, it could be said that you are the true most known unknown. No disrespect to 3-6 Mafia, just rhyme and reason.
Unsung in your J-So.
Hello! You started the first Memphis and Shelby County schools jazz music education program at Manassas High without help or money from the miseducation system.
Even today they still act like they don't have any money for the youthful masses, unless when it comes to paying off incompetent gatekeepers, cronies, and other useless decisions.
You took 9 young, ambitious, and eager boys from New Chicago and North Memphis and made them a new and intimate by sharing your love and gift of music.
Your band of merry jazzmen
left the comforts of Memphis and Manassas High School in 1930 for perceived greener, greater, and jazzy. Your pastures to parts unknown even to you and your crew. In spite of lack of funds, you were determined to make your mark by playing with the house's money. Your true game of chance with the will to be free. Your drive and insistence outweigh financial difficulties and man's indifference. Through true hustle and flow, you became the #1 jazz band for all African Americans in the land, earning the nickname the Harlem Express. Your band started to broadcast live from the Ghetto Cotton Club in the year of our Lord 1985, and you became the American Idol of Miles Davis, Quincy Jones, Glenn Miller, and many more. Your genius in action was immortalized in film while your orchestra played blues in the night. You, Jen Lunsford, led a music revolution in swing time and created a jazznocracy. Your band was the biggest attraction at the Apollo Theater for 10 straight years and was the first to play an integrated audience at the Paramount Theater. You were the toast of the town, the king of New York. You were the master and commander as well as the undisputed champ of the Battle of the Bands. Your band was considered the greatest by the masses. Not chicks, not dukes, not even counts mattered. You was a king uncrowned with no country to rule, and yet you still practiced the golden rule. You never forgot your roots and went back to plant more seeds with the glee and joy of a Johnny Appleseed. And my look at the beautiful fruits your tree bear. Rhythm bombers, Isaac Hayes, Booker T. Jones, Dee Dee Bridgewater's, Booker Little's, Phineas Newborn, George Coleman's, Catherine Perry, Thomas Arthur Lee's, Charles Lloyd's, Emerson Abel's, Maurice White's, Larry Lee's, and Johnny Ace's of mine. And yes, indeed, so much more. You just didn't climb mountains, you also flew over them. You flew and owned your own airplane at a time when the government tried not to teach the Tuskegee Airmen how to fly. Kill and die for good old Uncle Sam. You always embraced equality and never inequity. Always strive for excellence and never settle for mediocrity. Your dreams and ambitions knew no bounds or limitations. You was on top of the world until a racist, hate-mongering white man snatched your life with Apollo, Sandman-like efficiency. The curtains closed and the lights went dim once you left the stage. You used your God-given gifts to warm humanity's heart and soul, and yet the city of good abode has left one of her favorite sons forgotten and out in the cold. Where is the breath on Bill? Where are the markers? Where are the eulogies? Where is the Aldridge? Where's the love? Why so much indifference and hostility? They are still missing. However, one day in the heat of the August night in the 6th, the year of your passing, an artivist had an epiphany. Resurrect Jimmy's memory by teaching his story to the citizens who can't even recall his memory or shamefully neglects to read. What can profit a people if they have no identity? The hope endures, the dream never dies, and the beat goes on. Lunsford leaves. Lunsford leaves. The rhythm of life is our business.
Welcome back, family. Without further ado, we're going to have the one and only, the Honorable His Honor. But before that, that was my song dedicated to Jimmy Lunsford. Rhythm was his business. There was a version of that song. I wrote the lyrics a while back as a post, and I turned it into a song by the virtues of AI, Suno, whatever. Available on all streaming platforms, including We All Be TV on YouTube. So check it out. I got more songs in store. But let's get on with the business, y'all. Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. Let it all be known and welcome the one and only, the truly beyond category man, Judge Joe Brown, man. How you doing today, sir? Judge, you can hear me? Judge, you coming in? Judge still working this Mercury retrograde. Hey, Judge. You got it? You hear me? I think Judge can't hear me. Judge, you hear me?
Can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? You can't hear me, so I'm gonna boot him out. Hope he come back in. So hell, Judge come back in, but no, we're in a Mercury retrograde. So Judge, we'll be back shortly. Thank you, good sister, for tuning out to tune in to get in where you don't fit in. Welcome to We All Be News Free Dixie. So we got Judge coming back in.
All
Judge,
right,
you hear
I
me?
can hear you now.
All right, how you doing, Judge?
All right.
Happy Saturday.
Yeah, I guess it's that day.
Yes, sir. Are you ready for some football?
No.
You ready for some turkey?
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to start off because we need to talk about Memphis. And I
They've
came
got
across
too many football teams. They've got too many games.
Mhm.
And the talent's too diluted. And it's boring. The rules have gotten soft. And
Yeah, it is what it is. It's powder puff
yeah,
football.
I used to play it in high school and college. So, yeah, it's not what it used to be.
Yeah. So I want to talk about some political football, some local political football. I came across this post today by Sophia Gamil. It's talking about Memphis politics, and you're very well versed in the game of political F around and find out Memphis style. So I'm gonna start out with this post and get your take on it. He said, tirade Tammy stealing JB all over the place. Lee Harris done grew some nuts. P. Young don't know what side of the fence he wants to be on. Wonder don't give two F's about anything. Ed Ford talking to women like he's Bishop Dunn Magic One. Shelby County commissioners helping the people get rid of the school board. The school board suing the Shelby County commissioner because they don't give two F's about what the people want. T. Murphy just a plum fool. Brent Taylor and the Republican Party laughing their assets off. Justin Pearson didn't invite Steve Cohen to his wedding because he knew he was about to take his job. Dr. Marie N. Fagans running for mayor to split the votes to make sure JB don't win. Michael Lowry done told Ford once he gonna beat the brakes off him. Sarah Carpenter saying London Lamar trying to fight her. The National Guard ain't doing nothing but taking selfies, eating, and getting fat. MPD acting tough now since the feds in town. Anthony Buckner running for sheriff, but 100 plus inmates done either been murdered, OD'd, or committed suicide on his watch. District Attorney Stephen J. Mulroy trying to be cool with black folks, not realizing that they about to vote his assets out of office because he keep letting the thugs out of jail. Memphis is not a real place. Your take, Judge.
Let's start with the last. Mulroy has an 8-year term, so he's got a way to go. Next thing, Fagan's interesting. She's not hooked up with the corruption, but you know, the county situation is a lot worse than the Board of Education situation. And if she got turned out by the board, it would be gruesome to see what's going to happen to her if she got in as mayor. She hasn't been in town long enough to have a clue as to how the land's laid out. And they need somebody in who's absolutely ruthless, who can handle stuff, and I don't see that. The rest of the cartoon crew that they have is like, it's pathetic, you know. And I would say this about the people coming in. I have been for the last 3 some weeks driving around most evenings, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I have noticed the absence of gunfire. People are behaving themselves on the streets, and the citizenry feels safe about going out again. Maybe we won't have so many businesses closed down as a result, but this bunch of idiots, and I call them that went in and filed the lawsuit, they all need to be turned out. They're running the same Democratic Party mantra that you're hearing all over the country. We don't care about death and theft as long as we can protect you from this boogeyman in Washington, D.C., who we are telling you is about evil purposes, even though we're the ones that are doing the evil things to get rid of the First Amendment, Second Amendment, Fourth Amendment, Fifth, due process of law, and all kinds of other crazy, stupid stuff. So I find it absolutely amazing that these people joined in to sue the governor, the attorney general for the state, and the commander of the National Guard to keep them out of here because they think that that is yielding to Donald Trump and it will make, well, they don't care about what happens with theft and death. So I guess, you know, this is a bunch of little boule colored folk that hold positions, or boule gay folk that hold positions. And quite frankly, they're trying to bamboozle the ordinary people of the city and the county into being satisfied with a very bad situation while they can steal. So maybe what their real reluctance to accept the assistance is about is they might get caught up in it themselves and go to some time.
Mm-hmm.
See, Memphis is by any metric the most dangerous city.
Judge, are you there? We lost the judge. He's about to get in Memphis' most dangerous city, and then they cut him off. That's what we did with Judge. Okay, you got it?
Got it.
Okay.
Memphis is by any metric the most dangerous city in the United States of America, and it's the 10th most dangerous in the whole world. There are only 9 places you can visit on the whole planet that are worse than Memphis. We lead in homicides, kidnapping. We lead in, let's see, car burglaries, home burglaries. It's like, what's wrong with these people? They got the chance to run what once was a beautiful city by the mighty Mississippi River with a central location right at the nexus of trade and shipping and so much that it had to offer, and they just messed it up. I mean, what is with this bunch of Negroes that have gotten this great opportunity that black folk, I make a distinction between Negro and black, that so many black folk have struggled to get and have died to get, and they get the opportunity. They run Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, Memphis, Atlanta, and all they've done is effed it up.
Mm.
It's like that is not representative of black folk. This is just a select class of, they can't deal with the streets. They can't deal with really making it. They just get put in a positions and lying to everybody saying we're going to help you out because we look like you, when that's not what's going to happen. So what are we supposed to do with this group? There is an election coming up in November 2026 and a primary in August.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we ought to display our dissatisfaction by just turning the whole crooked bunch of them out. They've done a horrible job. Maybe there are one or two exceptions, but for the most part, it's just embarrassing.
Mm. That sounds about right. But I think it's a shift happening, and I think they need to be swept out of office, be honest with you, because they have been poor stewardship of this very important gem of a city. And my concern is the majority of the people have not benefited from these motley crew of folks. And also I'm looking at how the everything is changing as far as dynamically. Are the majority of the people of the city going to be left out in the cold over the next 5 to 6, 10 years?
Yes, we have been. There's an agenda, but it's not us.
Mm-hmm.
See, the people that are pushing this negativity where theft and death become inconsequential to them are the same ones that want the boys to put on sports bras and panties and compete against the girls, the same ones that want to have the boys in the girls' bathrooms and shower rooms, the same
Mm-hmm.
ones that want to tell children that they should submit to the sexual advances of adult perverts, the same ones that want to let children get taken to the vet and neutered,
Mm.
the same ones that want to spread rainbow all up and down the hallways of the schools, the same ones that have, since we were mentioning Board of Education, allowed it to be privatized. So teachers start at $28,000 a year, which is way below the poverty level if they only have a 2-year degree, which is not what it used to be, where you needed one that was a 4-year degree. You have one insane mess in our schools where even when you have a good teacher, that person is not able to um, teach. You have no dress codes for the teachers. You have people aspiring to be principals, and they're just as tacky about turning in their homework that they need to do in order to qualify as some of their worst students.
Mm.
I happen to know one of the good retired principals who trains the newbies,
Mm-hmm.
and some of the things she's expressed to me are just extraordinary. They even have grown folks editions of My Mama Got Sick. Oh, my aunt died for the third time. So it's like, wait a minute, these are supposed to be the people in charge, and they're as tacky as the worst student that they have under their control. What is this? So, it's kind of sort of pathetic, really pathetic. And the names mentioned in the recitation you gave, they should be in a rogues gallery, except they've got too much punk in them.
Mm.
Who are these people? What did they do for the individuals? At least we've got a gray haired, bald headed group that's out there that did something. And I keep thinking about something I heard years and years ago from an old man out there when I
Mm-hmm.
was out politicking. I forgot whether it was myself or somebody else. And he said, Lawyer Brown, this is just a shame. He said, we used to get something for our vote. I used
Mm-hmm.
to get a big piece of cold, juicy watermelon, a shot of decent whiskey, in a shiny quota. Now I don't get shit for voting for these folks, except a hard time.
Uh-huh. So, will you think this be a perfect time to encourage folks that are not necessarily traditional politicians or novices to get into these races to challenge the status quo? Like people that just everyday folks.
It might. You learn something, but quite frankly, I have to fess up. People
Mhm,
have been approaching me about running for county mayor, and I said I won't do it unless the money is there. And they're talking about raising the money. If they can get it, then I might jump in for county mayor because this is somebody that's hardcore, not one of this punk crowd, not one of this newbie crowd that's got a lot of enthusiasm and doesn't know where the skeletons are buried, where the graveyards are,
mhm,
who's done the hooking and the crooking and all of the bad schemes. And Mulroy doesn't know how to get anybody in jail because he's a law professor, but not a trial lawyer. So we don't have anybody out there knowing what to do. Our chief of police for the city, she was fired Atlanta and about there. That happened in Raleigh, Durham, and she becomes the first civil service chief that she can't fire in 41 years. The sheriff's department is in a complete mess. The biggest thing that gets me is the BS that they want you to believe is extraordinary. Like crime is down, right? They don't want
mhm,
to acknowledge that it's a mess going through the roof, but crime is down, right?
mhm.
That's what they're saying, right? Am I right
Yeah,
or wrong on
yeah,
that?
you're right. You're right.
If crime is down, why do we need a new jail?
Hmm.
You see, aren't they saying we need a brand new jail because the one we have can't handle the load? But if the crime's down, wouldn't the load drop? And if the load drop, why do we need a new jail? That's because these little dogs with their tails tucked between their legs
Mhm,
who are cuddling up to get their kibbles and bits opened up and some bacon bits and doggy treats passed on to them. They're trying to get the people that own them the opportunity to have something else we don't need built at taxpayers' expense. Now, how many times have I been talking about how crooked Memphis Light, Gas, and Water was and how poorly it was run and what happened some years ago when it privatized and how they sold off all the equipment?
mhm,
Now we find that $110 million mess to three private contractors that were out there because MLG&W doesn't have the equipment anymore, where they're billing how many thousands of dollars per mile to clean up the debris and the tree branches and stuff. 21 to 23,000 dollars a mile, and in the rest of the state they average about $2,400, not 23,000.
mhm,
It's a ripoff.
mm,
That's so they can steal. And then we got that mess down there where Tammy Sawyer doesn't get the idea that she's clerk of the court. She works for the judges to keep their records. And that fool thinks somebody works for them. And then marched off in there with her Mississippian armed inside the courthouse to guard her. And she's got mouth to run. And
mm,
then Lee Harris, he's sitting up there. He put in writing that, oh, we took the money out of your account, Ms. Halbert. Why do you complain? Your predecessor didn't. Well, there's commingled funds in there that the feds might get a little disturbed about. And it's $28 million. And it looks like when you get outside to hack computers and do the paper audits, there's another $50 million there that seems to have missed, and there are about 7,500 license plates that got mailed through the mayor's office that turned up missing until now when they're beginning to show up on vehicles moving in interstate commerce that were stolen. And then, of course, I brought it out, but now it got embarrassing when it got back around about that Sheraton Hotel downtown where they were going to put in $220-some million to finance reconstruction for an international hotel chain like A.L.L, because the powers that be, and that include Urkel Young and Strickland and the bunch of gangsters we've got in the clown council downtown, they got $8.6 million out of the so-called 18.7% minority set aside that's now down to 15%, because they got the 3.7 to $8.6 million that they put their little greedy grubbies in. And meanwhile, they were scared when they were in high school of all of the ordinary folk out in the street that used to run them home from school before they got protected from bullying. So now I guess they're getting revenge of the nerds by stealing from the ordinary folk at school. Now, to show you what we're missing out on, that little rinky-dink airport we have out here, believe it or not, has the highest commercial tonnage coming out of it in the whole world. Hong Kong is second, usually, and it is basically shipping out half the tonnage that Memphis International does. FedEx is located here. UPS ships from here, the bulk mail center. A lot of enterprises do, because it is the center of the North American transportation net, whether for Canada, the U.S., or Mexico. And everything that gets shipped in North America eventually moves through Memphis. It has no smog inversion zone. The weather is fairly decent. You've got a lot of available workforce here that does have, believe it or not, a reliable record of showing up for work. And you've got the Mississippi River that would allow access to transportation directly from Memphis all the way to Europe through the Mediterranean, going through the Mediterranean Suez Canal directly into Asia, which would save about 9,000 miles off of the regular way they do by shipping across the Pacific to Los Angeles to Long Beach Harbor, then putting it on a train to go almost 2,000 miles to get to Memphis. See, we could bypass all of that and get advantage of it. But we've got people like Justin, where he wants to attack Trump for bringing in a business to set up the AI computer manufacturing, which would make Memphis the center of a new Silicon Valley for the second quarter of the 21st century. By the way, in a month and a half, we will be into the second quarter of the 21st century. We've already been through the first 25 years. So just think about that and how we were letting this opportunity go flap, 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 flap away. And nobody seems to know what to do about it.
Well, I'm gonna bring it, Joe. I want to bring in the MLGW piece. I think Joe Kent did a great job of writing about that piece, about them overcharging to cut down trees. I just want to read a little bit of it. I posted a link in the comments, but it said, according to data compiled by investigative reporter and taxpayer advocate Joe Kent, the numbers tell a story of fraud and fiscal betrayal hiding in plain sight. Nashville pays approximately $6,641 per mile for tree trimming. Knoxville pays around $7,223 per mile, the standard benchmark across Tennessee. Memphis, under the current MLGW contract, is paying an outrageous $23,152 per mile, and is set to balloon to $27,000 per mile in 2026. Y'all can read that report online. Joe Kent did a great job. True investigative journalism, whistleblower Joe Kent uncovers $100 million MLGW fraud approved by Mayor Paul Young and the Memphis City Council Government Gangsters Part 7. And let me say this about Mayor
Wait
Paul
a minute. I've been saying that for the last 5 years.
Right.
But it's good that somebody went and did the study on it. And by the way, that amount of money that they're talking about for Nashville, etc., that's excessive because the statewide average is not 6,000, it's not 7, it's in the 2,000s. Now, those two big cities have some of the same problems we do because it's very easy to steal money from the public when you have an arrangement with the people who are going to get the contracts to give you some of it back. You okay and get set up an outrageous amount of money being paid out for something, and they say, oh, we're so glad to get so much of a windfall, we'll give a little bit of it back to you. But they're not set up to deal with negotiating contracts for businesses. They hold office for the benefit of the citizens. Oh, here's Ugly Urkel here.
Well, I would say like with Paul Young, I actually talked to him. Like I was introduced by a white citizen that is very well connected. And my thing is, anytime white people love a black person that much, they ain't no good for black people. That's why I think if you love, for white person say, Ron, I want you to meet this person. He's terrific. And I meet this person and I know who this person is. He's on a fast track to becoming somebody. But I actually approached Paul Young back in March of 2023 at Lamar Owen for the meet and greet for the People's Convention. You know, they had their meet and greets with the candidates, meet the candidates. And I talked to Paul. I thought he had a love for Memphis, but I told Paul to his face, you can't tell no white folks, no, you took too much of their money. If they can kill Dr. King and a president candidate, who are you? He said, well, I could tell them no behind closed doors. I said, that's closed doors, though. But you cannot affect policy because you took their money and really, you know, unless you took $1 million from the city fathers. But my thing is this, is that I want to encourage people to run who don't normally run. I want people to get involved that don't normally get involved because Paul Young is mayor and he didn't win. He did not even get 25,000 votes as mayor. He didn't get 30% of the electorate. So if he could be mayor, what we need is some type of group of people and some outside help. We ain't gonna get it from the inside. The inside want us to be controlled. It's a plantation. We need outsiders with some resources to help the people on the inside get on top of this bull crap.
They're straight up Democratic Party ownership of the Negroes now. Well, the Negroes on their plantation. They don't grow cotton anymore.
Mm-hmm.
King Cotton is not in charge, but Queen Rainbow is. Tranny Queen Rainbow. So I don't know what they're trying to do. They aren't even making a pretense of trying to deliver anything for their constituents. What are they claiming to deliver? We're saving you from evil Donald Trump. So we want to get the National Guard out of here because they may make things safe. And if they make things safe, that'll make us look bad because that shows how we failed. And meanwhile, if they get to looking too close, they might find one of us. Remember Tennessee Waltz? A whole lot of people wound up going to the penitentiary.
Not Harrington, though. Harrington was too smart. You know.
Well, Harrington wasn't doing what the rest of them did.
Exactly.
He had his own thing. He was on these boards of directors making 10, 12 times what the rest of the local yokels were making with their little crumb snatching. You know, he was going for bigger slices of the pie.
Well, that's interesting to think about because, like, I just think that it's much to do about nothing. I got a problem with people that are so-called public servants and politicians. They're better at doing selfies and live streams or getting in the press than they are getting legislation passed in their respective position. And I'm tired of, like, you know, I know a black politician told us about 4 years ago. It was Representative Joe Towns, April 4th, 2021. I ain't gonna never forget. He basically told us that they can't do nothing for us in Nashville. The black politicians from West Tennessee cannot do anything for us. He basically told us to pray to Jesus. And I'm saying, why are we standing in line voting for you so you get benefits of not doing anything? But he basically, black politicians right now that we have are worthless when it comes to politics. We need people that know how to do. Lyndon B. Johnson, whatever people think about Lyndon B. Johnson, he knew how to legislate and get stuff done. We have nobody knows how to do the art of being a diplomat and the art of the compromise. You got people with bullhorns coming through places saying speaking loudly, but not saying anything of substance. I'm not talking about anybody in particular, but I'm tired of people. All they want to do is play race politics and play with our emotions as black folks. Enough of that. Time out for that. I'm tired of these pastors in the city being pimps, talking about engineer poverty like it's a real thing. It was created to divide the people from the resources. The greatest crime in Memphis is undereducating the population about their rights and their ability to help upper mobility. That's the real crime going on.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Potential.
Somebody who expressed to me personally an interest in running for county mayor called me up to ask me for support.
Right.
I said, well, what are your economic policies? Well, I don't have any, but I'm going to get some people that'll come up with a good platform. What about crime? Well, I don't know anything about that, but I'll find somebody that can come up with something. So when I written down this list, they had absolutely nothing. By the way, it wasn't a male, it was a female. And I don't have any. It's like, well, why are you running? Well, I mean, they needed
They
some
already
fresh new
corrupt, Judge.
faces. Wait a minute. Why do we need a fresh new face
Right.
if that doesn't do anything? You are supposed to be the boss. So you mean to tell me you don't have any ideas? Exactly what are you supposed to be doing? You don't have a program to bring in with you? So why in the devil should we vote for you? So it's kind of like I told you some stories about some of the mayors that we've had around here for the county and the city before. And, they walk in places and people paid attention. Nobody's going to pay attention to Urkel coming through the door when you think he ought to be on your TV set in a sitcom. Ugly Urkel, too. Or you get the bowling pin lady down there in the clerk's office that acts foolish, and she seems to think everybody's against her because she's black. But I mean, it's really ridiculous when you hear that in Memphis because look, 70-some% of the population is black, 70% of the cops are black, 70% of the deputies are black, 60% of the criminal court judges are black and female. 75% of the jury pool is black. You get almost 80% of the teachers are black. You don't have any white folks sitting on the board of education except two. I mean, you very seldom find one on the clown council or the clown commission. So, I mean, the mayor is a Negro for the city, the mayor for the county is a Negro. What I mean, how did they get done in by white folk? They're in charge. They just don't know what the hell they're doing. Or more probably, not only do they not know what the hell they're doing, they're too busy trying to be crook to learn. They want theft and death.
Death and death. Wow.
I mean, think about it. The murder rate's through the roof, but it's dropped a little bit since the outside editions have been here. But the locals joined in a lawsuit, so we won't have them here. So, I mean, what are we supposed to do? Go back to the things as they were? I mean, it was an opportunity to embarrass local law enforcement leadership into saying there's something you need to do. See, you get above lieutenant and get into the captain major stuff, some of them are very disenchanted about what they get told to do, where they need to be politically correct and look the other way because Mulroy doesn't want to be in the problem of having to come down hard on some Negro thug. But we, the rest of us who are black, not worried about these little pampered Negro poodles, are saying, hey, we need somebody to kick some butt. We don't like thinking about our mothers, girlfriends, wives, sisters, secretaries, and acquaintances getting put in jeopardy just because they went to a grocery store or went to get gas. And Beale Street's down there, but local Memphians don't go because they don't like the thugism down there. You know, you look at Poplar. Rayford's closed up. Let's see. Houston's closed up. Let's see. Carrabba's closed up. One and Only Barbecue closed up. Buckley Steakhouse closed up. You've got all these businesses closed up. You can't go park in the Paradiso. Well, you can now, but for a while, parking in that lot for the Paradiso Theater, you know, where you had the Napa Cafe and Houston's and whatever, it was asking to get your car broken into. So, what in the world are we looking at here? You had this, but you let it go because you didn't know what the hell you were doing with it. I mean, is Urkel one of those people, or Lame Harris? Is he one of those people that used to be active in what was going on out in the streets to try and get stuff together? Answer: no. Have any of them taken causes or cases or anything that dealt with advancing the cause of justice and equity in this part of the state, of dealing with setting things up, of ensuring that government was there for the people? No. And I would especially fault Harris. He's a law professor out here at the University of Memphis, downtown, when they took over the old post office down there, and the faculty is encouraged to do pro bono stuff. He hadn't done a single case in the entire time he's been there. So what are we doing with these people? They're just not fulfilling their civic responsibility to the people that they lead, or supposed to be leading. I mean, but if you're going to lead, like we've talked about, you have to be able to mingle. You have to be able to stop your car and people say, hey, that's our guy. You know, he's one of us. We're proud of you. Thanks for doing what you're doing. People are like,
I hear you, Judge. Some people don't got
what?
that type of training though. Like they don't know how to. It's like a lot of anxiety. People got a lot of anxiety these days. Even so-called public servants or people in the public eye, they don't know how to deal with people.
No, they
Know how to
don't.
themselves.
And then see, their ideation is, what do you hear from so many of them? It's our turn to get the gravy now. The hell is wrong with you? White folk been doing it. That doesn't make it right.
Right, exactly.
It's
I
your
agree with you,
job
Judge.
to make it straight for your. You've been talking about, your grandfather was talking about how your people got ripped off by the system. Now you're in charge and you ripping your people off because you talk about it's your turn to get the gravy. All right, we got these field hands out there. It's our turn to get the cotton to take, pick it.
Yeah, so it's so true, Judge. I want to talk about this because I know you brought this up. I was out of town, but I just want to get your thoughts about this situation. I'm gonna share the screen. This Latasha Daniels. She was accused of killing her lover, who was a Memphis pastor, a prominent Memphis pastor. I'm gonna read a little short synopsis, and I'm gonna get your take on it, Judge. It says Latasha Daniels has been found guilty of shooting a Memphis pastor and his wife at their Collierville home back in 2019. A Shelby County jury returned a verdict Friday. This came out November 7, 2025. Finding her guilty of second-degree murder and reckless endangerment. Daniels was originally indicted on charges of first-degree murder, criminal attempted first-degree murder, and employing a firearm during a felony, the third and final count for which the jury found her not guilty. Interesting. It's been 6 years since she pulled the trigger. Daniels, now 46, spent 4 years in jail leading up to the trial. With Friday's guilty verdict, she's looking at a lot more time behind bars. When Daniels took the stand, according to her attorney, she shared details about her relationship with Pastor Broads Perry, claiming he was manipulative and controlling. Okay.
My reaction to that whole thing.
Yeah,
You
well,
have to understand, the
yeah.
first criminal case I tried as a defense lawyer was in 1975. That's 50 years ago. I have had several thousand trials as a defense lawyer, prosecutor, or and even more as a criminal court judge, elected to 2 terms, 8 years each, in one of the busiest criminal jurisdictions in the United States. At the time, it was the fifth busiest. And quite frankly, I have never seen such an incompetent prosecution in the entirety of that half century. That was pathetic.
Mm.
I listened to this self serving testimony by the defense lawyer. Did you not, in fact, find that? Well, she didn't even do it that way. You were going home and you were going to find out what was going to go on, and that was aggravating you because that was wrong the way he put you in that kind of position, wasn't it? Hey,
Mm.
where's the objection? This went on for 2 some hours. I listened to it. It was televised live. Not one objection from the prosecution. And
Mm-hmm.
then when the prosecution had the opportunity to tear her a new one on cross examination, I don't think they stayed up 5 minutes and they didn't even ask anything. It was absolutely pathetically investigated, pathetically prepared, and pathetically tried. The judge in question, I don't know who that woman was. I'd never encountered her before. I was astonished that she let that go on in a courtroom. I'm saying, where is she going to say, will counsel approach and then ultimately take the jury out? We have some things to discuss. Uh, excuse me, but what is all of this leading question here? Are we
Mm-hmm.
supposed to swear in the defense lawyer as a witness?
Mm.
Et cetera, et cetera. And then when they get out and say, ladies and gentlemen, the court has an instruction, statements, remarks, and arguments of counsel are not evidence, and you are not to consider them as having any weight at all when it comes to evidence. They are only designed to assist you in understanding the law and its application to the evidence. But what the lawyers say is not evidence.
Mm.
I mean, I never have seen such an embarrassing incompetence in the prosecution. It was like they were trying to give it away. And considering their sentencing guidelines, and this woman is a first offender, she may almost be in a time served situation.
Yeah, because they're gonna sentence her on December 17th, so she's facing at least 13 years in prison, from my understanding.
Yeah. And then when you get that, that's parole and all this other stuff. See, here's the other thing. They let her get away with reading to the jury approximately a 5-page suicide letter,
Mm.
which is absolutely astonishing. It's something that I was shocked the prosecution did not argue, showed transferred intent and also premeditation.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, she laid out in that suicide letter what her defense was going to be if she didn't kill herself. And then there is no greater demonstration of intent to commit a crime, to be premeditated about it, to contemplate it, to engage in wickedness where it wasn't spur of the moment when you write out a suicide letter or note. So there's this thing called transferred intent, and I didn't hear anybody talk about what was planned and plotted was a murder suicide. In other words, one
Mm.
individual plans and plots out the murder of another and then decides to take their own life in the process. So the objects are to kill the victim and then to commit suicide. Now, oftentimes it develops that somebody who plans that feels so much better after killing their tormentor that they decide not to kill themselves. And I didn't hear any expert testimony to rebut what we did here from the defense, which was fairly weak.
Mm-hmm.
I just heard, it's like, do you have any idea what the hell you're doing? Now, Mulroy was supposed to have gotten rid of a lot of Amy Wyrick's appointments who were in there for other reasons than their ability to do the job well.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't hire people that knew what they were doing. He hired politically correct people. And
Mm.
then in the intervening several years, it is obviously apparent if that's who you assign to this major murder case, that nobody got sent to classes, nobody got any instruction. The elected DA didn't have anything to teach these people about investigation, one, dealing with the direct examination of a witness by the opposition, cross
Mm-hmm.
examination, jury selection, or final argument.
Mm.
It's all the rules of evidence. It's like, what are you doing there?
Right.
That was, I look, from 1975 up to 2000,
Mm-hmm.
I tried a lot of cases, one way or the other, prosecution, defense, or judge. And I've never seen anything that weak.
Wow.
And somebody ought to hold Mulroy very accountable for being responsible for that.
Yeah, wow. And also, like in her, they said there's an interesting take on the judge because also they said that Daniels will taken into custody and will be sentenced on December 17th. She has no priors, and her attorney said during her 4-year incarceration leading up to trial, she wrote 2 books trying to help others, one for incarcerated mothers, another for children whose mothers are in jail. So I think that, and then she almost killed his wife. My thing is he wasn't there to defend himself. How you know
Wait a
that?
minute. Wait.
Yeah.
Testimony on that. I remember his wife escorting me outside of the apartment. And then the next thing I remember, I was standing over their bodies on the kitchen floor.
Okay.
Really? And the prosecution was so inept they couldn't rip that to shreds.
I mean, it's like, yeah, because it's like they demonizing him, and he's not there to defend himself. And why you trust the word of a person that didn't follow through on killing herself?
Well, but the point
Yeah.
I'm making is, I've done this a lot.
Yes, sir. That's what I'm asking.
And I'm looking at the defendant with her own mouth digging her own grave to lay down in where somebody shovels the dirt of guilt over her. I mean, it's like, how can you get such a beautiful case made for you by a likewise inept defense and you can't do anything with it? It's
Because
like, what's the matter?
they the
And
Washington
see, here's the
General.
other thing. There's sentencing guidelines. She's
Yeah.
apparently a first offender.
Right.
So the sentencing guidelines are going to say, as a range 1 standard offender, you are liable to only 30% of the sentence if you serve all of what you're going to serve. If you are a mitigated offender, which defense seems to have attempted to set up, then you serve 20%. So that's where you would wind up serving it as the max. Now, the minimum sentence for this is 15 to 60 years. This is not a life in the penitentiary situation. This is 15 to 60 years. So what is 30% of 15? That's 5. So
Mhm.
she might walk out the door right after sentencing. good and honor time, credit. She wrote the books. So 30% of 15's 5 years. That's the minimum if she gets the minimum. And if the judge deviates from the minimum, she has to show cause why on the record. And people don't get what sentencing guidelines are like. Let me ask you a question. What are you going
Mm-hmm.
to pay this year for taxes?
I don't know.
You don't know, do you?
I don't know.
Why don't you? You haven't filled out your 1040 form yet. And
Yes.
until you fill out your 1040 form, you don't know what you're going to pay.
Yes, sir.
So it's the same thing with sentencing. Until you go through the sentencing guidelines, you don't know what the person's going to serve.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, but I
So
also want.
see,
Go ahead. Yes, sir.
in other words, 15 to 60 years is the range of punishment for a Class A felony.
Okay.
And 30% of the minimum is 5 years.
Mm.
So how long has she been in custody?
4 years, they said.
Well, the offense occurred in 2019.
Mm-hmm. I'm just going back with the media, yeah, what they wrote. I don't know.
Well,
You
I
know,
mean, we
I
can't
think,
always rely on the media. They don't know
right, of
shit.
course. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
And then you got amateurs that don't know about the subject. They just get brought in because they know how to put the makeup on.
Right, exactly. Yes, sir.
So um, it's who got anything out of this? This is part of what I look at as being politically correct in prosecution. You're telling the higher ups in the police department, don't touch them. We don't want to deal with people who've only stolen $999.99 shoplifting. Otherwise, let them go.
Mm. Yeah.
You've got this food desert where all of these major markets have closed down, Kroger's and stuff like that. I think 11 of them have closed in the Memphis area over the last 10 years. Why? Because they cannot continue to function with the heavy burden put on them by shoplifting that has not resulted in any vigorous prosecution, either by the Warwick administration or by the Mulroy administration.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you saying here? We have our elected officials. This goes back again to theft and death. Not just this case, but it's part and parcel of this thing. Oh my God, criminals are all victims.
Mm.
So let's treat the victims nicely. What about the dead victim? What about the wounded victim? What about the robbed victim, the raped victim, the kidnapped victim, the victim of the burglary, the victim of the whatever you pick to be a criminal act? What about them?
Mm-hmm.
See, but forget that. That's not politically correct. Plus, we have more important things to do. We have to make sure that Cooper Young and Midtown have all of the potholes filled and we get speed bumps put in and they are self-contained so they don't come out. And we don't teach the children anything at school because that may cause somebody to be disturbed if some kid gets, embarrassed because they are a disciplinary problem. And by the way, Tennessee is one of those states that still allows corporal punishment of children as long as you don't physically injure them or leave any disfiguring marks.
Mm.
But who am I to say? I just dealt for years with the consequences of. He's been a good boy, ma'am. Your son that you say is a good boy, he's 19 years old. He's
Mm-hmm.
had 37 felonies since he's been 15.
Mm.
How can you
Yes.
call that person a good boy? But he never give me no problems. Didn't it bother you that all of this was going on and you're asking the court to reduce his bond because you made 5 already this year and you can't afford to make another one? Doesn't something strike you as wrong with that, man?
Well, you know,
See,
yeah. Go ahead, Judge. I didn't mean to cut you out, but I was
all I'm saying is when you have people in charge who say that's all right, that person was a victim. The reason he has 37 felonies is only 9 and is only 19 is because he's been a victim of society.
right. Because I was going to ask you about you bringing all this up is lead me to that situation with the mother in Chicago and her kid getting drunk by all them kids, and how the response been on social media with the parents of the kids involved and the supporters being very defensive. Like, it's weird. They attacked this woman with her child, and she was trying to stand up against bullying, and she was attacked. You heard about that case, I know.
I saw that, yeah,
What's
the
your take on that?
video. It's a reflection on what's going wrong with our society. The government can't, or a government can't do everything for you. Some of it you have to do yourself. And that means you have to raise these little children to be children and eventually competent and adults who contribute to society instead of raising little monsters who wind up having to deal with somebody like me, maybe, or these days, some incompetent who doesn't know what the hell they're up to.
That makes sense, Judge. And also, I had to ask about what's going on in society. Trying to see if I get this thing. Hey, brother Phil, how you doing?
Hey there, brother Ron. I'm doing great, and it's always good to hear from you.
Yeah.
Hope you're doing.
I'm doing fine, but I'm on the air with brother, the Honorable Judge Joe Brown. We have some deep conversations.
Oh, that sounds like quite the conversation. Being on air with Judge Joe Brown definitely means some deep and real talk is going down. I'm all ears if you need anything while you're live or just want to share some of that discussion.
Yeah, I want to ask you, because I'm going to move in, because Judge talking about, legalities and whatnot. And I'm interested in the state of women right now in our country and the world. And I want to talk about, what are the percentages of women being the lead cause in domestic violence situations? Can you give us some statistics, Phil?
Absolutely, brother Ron. I can give you a little bit of a rundown. So, in terms of statistics, it's kind of a complex picture. Generally speaking, most data suggests that women are more often the victims rather than the lead cause in domestic violence situations. For example, in the US, statistics tend to show that the majority of victims in reported cases are women, and men are more frequently the perpetrators. That said, it's not a one size fits all, and there are absolutely situations where women can be the primary aggressors. But percentage wise, it's much lower. It's more common to see about 1 in 3 women experiencing domestic violence in a lifetime versus a lower percentage of men. So that's kind of the lay of the land in terms of the numbers. If you need more specifics, just let me know.
I want to say this. How many men you think don't report domestic violence situations? Like, a lot of men don't want to report it because they're embarrassed. What do you think is a percentage on that, Phil? Or can you tell us anything?
Yeah, absolutely, brother Ron. That's a really important point, and you're spot on. A lot of men do feel embarrassed or hesitant to report domestic violence. As a stigma, social expectations, or just a feeling that they won't be taken seriously. In terms of percentages, it's hard to get an exact number, but many studies suggest that male underreporting is significant. Some estimates say that a large proportion of male victims, maybe half or more, never actually report their experiences. So it's a pretty big chunk of cases that we just don't see in the official statistics. But yeah, you're definitely right. There's a hidden dimension there for sure.
All right, Phil, I'm going to sit you out right now. And Judge, what's your take on the situation when women being responsible for domestic violence situations? Because I know you got experience being a judge in law.
Oh, and in life, let me give you what I think the real problem is.
Well, brother Ron,
go
not
ahead, Judge.
problem, but just an illustration of an actuality that still holds in certain places. There was a movie starring John Wayne and Maureen O'Hara, Frontier. He was one of his typical sheriffs, sheriff And they had this nascent romance, which was clumsy because he was playing strong, silent type. And she hauls off and slaps him. Blam! He doesn't do anything. She slaps him again. Blam! And he just puts his arms around her, hugs her, and then she melts and kisses him. In other words, the masculine position has historically been woman can't hurt me, so I'm not going to react to it. You know, slap me, hit me, no big deal. You're too weak. And that's not a bad policy if you're training horses or dogs or anything else. If they try to nip you or do something, act like nothing happened, and they go, oh, wow, I didn't even do anything. You know, maybe I need to straighten up before something happens coming back. So it's a outlook, and I don't know if it's embarrassing. I've had it happen to me over my years in life. I just sort of look at it as like, oh, come on, don't even try. That's not gonna hurt me. What's the matter with you? You know, can't you come up with something that expresses your position a little better? And it's not anything to report because it's insignificant. And you may have the attitude that most of the guys on my generation did, which is, I'm not going to let you kill me. I'll take the gun away from you or the knife or knock it out of your hand. But, you know, I expect you to act crazy and emotional. You know, your left brain and right brain are too synaptically connected for you to be able to distinguish between emotions as a motivator, your mind is a way of establishing what you do, so you don't let the other one lapse over into taking that role. You just may let it influence, but then you think about it coldly and rationally, reasonably, logically, and analytically and objectively. But, you know, um, women aren't as strong and big as us. I mean, contrary to what they hear now, and unless they're going to shoot you or something, you know, where it's not a matter of equality. It's like the old saying, you remember who Sam Colt was, the guy that invented the revolver? And they had a saying, God made man and Sam Colt made them equal. In other words, it's an equalizer. So with something like that, yeah, you can be concerned, but for the most part, unless somebody's going to use a deadly weapon that can be used from a distance or by ambush or sneak attack, guy doesn't have anything to worry about with a woman. Unless she's got some, you know, knock the weapon out of her hand, take it away. I assume you have done your manly homework and become reasonably proficient in the manly art of self-defense. So doing that, you don't have to worry about a woman other than her being an annoyance if she's going to do it, or maybe getting a cut or a bruise or something, or a scratch. That happens, but it's nothing.
What if a woman like assaults you, like punch you in the
That's
face?
just my general attitude toward it.
Yeah, but what
And
if she,
there's a thing that I've said over and over. There are two ways of saying it. I only say one. It's just from which side you take it. A guy who's got a beat on a woman is too big a fool for the woman to deal with, or the woman's too big a fool for him to be around.
That's deep right there. But what I mean, what you say about a woman that will punch you in the face with brass knuckles or destroy your property?
Can't hear you.
Oh, you can't judge. You can't hear. Can you hear me now? Hello? Let's see. Judge, I know what we're doing, Margaret. So we get like some interesting stuff going on.
Let's
Hello?
see. Let me
Judge.
try to come back in here and see if
Okay.
I can get this right.
I definitely want to ask Judge this question. A couple of questions. I think it's very important. I think men need to pay attention.
Oh, man.
Hey, we're gonna be all right. We're gonna get it done. I know it's a Mercury retrograde going on, but we are thankful and grateful to have this
Testing, one,
conversation
two, three, one.
with the Honorable Judge Joe Brown,
All
dropping
right.
some gems as usual. Judge, can you hear me?
I'm gonna have to go out and come back
Okay.
in. I can't hear a word you're saying.
Yes, sir. That'll be okay. And we're going, like we said, we're going to enjoy the ride. It's going to be bumpy at times, but I think it's important to talk about domestic violence and also about men dealing with domestic violence. I think that's a very important topic. It's been kind of taboo, but I want to get it out there. Judge is old school perspective, and I'm younger guy, and I have my own stories about, dealing with women that might be violent, a little bit violent, but I want to talk about this. I want to normalize the discussion of domestic violence, not just from men, but women being the lead in that, and have more honest dialogue around that. I want to start discussions like not no toxic situation, but a better understanding. Because I believe a lot of that is underreported, because men are embarrassed about going to the authorities when a woman misbehaves and acts out of bad faith, don't really, do stuff that could be detrimental and even traumatic for the man. Because we've been told this, you don't put your hands on a woman for any reason, but I feel like you have a right to self-defense. Judge, can you hear me?
I hear you now.
Yeah, I want to ask you because I know, I had some interesting situations with women, some violent women. I know women that have punched men, used brass knuckles and stilettos. I know a woman who used brass knuckles and stilettos to bust out dude's car and stuff like that and put hands on him. He defended himself. I know guys who have reported these women to police, but never, maybe like not press charges. But the thing about it is you got women out there. It's a different time right now. A lot of women think they're men. They're very aggressive. Some of them are addicts. They're on all types of drugs, street and legal, whatever. So you don't
You
know
got a
what you're
lot
dealing
of
with.
those holding political office these days too.
So what do you do in that situation as a man when you got a woman?
Well, here's what I mean. It's all relative to the circumstances. Like I say, I tend to ignore it. Though sometimes I would tell somebody if I was representing you, I'd say you don't necessarily have to issue a formal complaint, but you certainly might wish to report it. So if
Mhm.
something does come up, like somebody I know did that, and he had 5 legitimate reports. So when the other one decided to come up, that became the context for the
Mhm.
complaint on the other side, which helps out in the long run. So sometimes you got to do what you got to do, and there's always this thing too. Sometimes it's not a question of whether somebody's a fool, but how big a fool can a fool be?
Right.
And some women just don't get it. Everybody may be of equal value or
Mhm.
potential value, but we're not all equal in what we can do. Obviously, we can't dunk a basketball like LeBron or something like that, but
Mhm.
you might wind up inventing something that is very worthwhile. So you have an equality of circumstance, but not necessarily equality of the abilities that you do have. So some women think they are the equal of men, and our, again, educational system hasn't helped this out over the last 50 years, where we have Kill Bill type things and
Mhm.
other productions where the angry woman goes and out physicals the guy and whips him. Yeah, so I mean that's a lot of mythology.
Mhm.
I knew well, I still know her. She's still alive, and the guy in question, is dead. Um, Her name was Graziella.
Okay.
Graziella is a tenured college professor. All right.
Mhm.
She's not the biggest thing in the world, but she is a mistress of martial arts. And eskrima, that is knife fighting, is one of her specialties. And when it came to actual physicality, she years ago used to fight before it became popular with the cage combat stuff, in full contact karate. And she had 32 bouts, and she won 28 of them by knockout and the other 4 by decision. But she'd tell you in a minute and say, if I'm getting ready to go up against a guy, I don't care what the hell I know. That's only to get away. If if something's going down, I'm calling. And it's the guy that died. Name's Cliff. I've talked to you about him, but he said I'm calling Cliff to hell with that. I don't care who it is. So it's just a matter of perspective, and she would shake her head at some of what she sees or what's out there right now. Um, Women have a unique ability to diffuse situations, to smooth things out, to get their ways simply because they can get guys to do things, but they keep teaching guys to be girls these days, so they don't recognize it. Nobody's teaching boys and girls 101 A and B, so they don't know how to get along with each other. So some people, supported very aptly by the Democratic Party, have forgotten what it is to be men and women. And when it comes to dealing with each other, they don't mesh. They do this, and they can't get along. So it's tragic, but it is what it is. Probably got to do with why the rate of marriage has dropped so low, and so many of these boys just get sent straight to hell because there's no manhood around to assist them in their development, and there's no manhood to favorably impact the girls on their way to womanhood. So, not saying that all women are bad, but it's always a bad idea when you go into a situation saying, we're not going to allow or we won't promote this child having the benefit of typical human upbringing with father and mother around, or at least male influence.
I mean, that's a good point. But I think about some of the women that I have encountered. It made me question about, like, why would you get married as a man with his right mind? In this
It
day and
is,
age with the women, huh?
yeah. Like it's like, excuse me, what's wrong? One woman one time said, "Where do you think you're going?" I said, "Somewhere not around you." I said, "You know, I'd have lost my mind if I stayed here with you." It's crazy.
But yeah, you ever dealt with a woman that you like, but she has an addiction problem? And I learned
Oh,
that they can't
no. Get the hell out of there. You're
get the
not
hell out of
doing
there.
her any favor or you're any favor.
Mm-hmm.
And a guy told me years and years ago, a lot older than me,
Mm-hmm.
he said, Joe, he said, any woman you got to hit on is too big a fool to be around.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime you run into one that would strike you as somebody that would put herself in that position, get the hell out of her face, get the hell out of her vicinity, tear her phone number up, and avoid seeing her.
That's some wise words. I appreciate.
Any woman you need to beat on is too big a fool for you to be around. And if you hang around, you're too big a fool to be there in the first place, to be with yourself.
But it's someone that want to encourage guys to beat up on. 'Cause I remember I encountered somebody went to prison for allegedly assaulting her and stuff. But when I look at the case, it's like, okay, maybe he didn't do all what she claimed he did, because they actually reduced his sentence based on whatever
Well,
they came out in
I,
court.
I as a lawyer, now retired, I went to law school with her. I was 2 years ahead of him.
Mm-hmm.
She was tiny,
Mm-hmm.
and she made a career of being involved in rescuing, defending, or advocating for abused women. All right.
Mm-hmm.
But she personally was one of the most violent humans I had ever seen in my life. She really never could date anybody more than about a week and a half because of her violence. I'll give you an
Mm.
example. A bunch of us had a picnic, right? People are playing bid whisk. You know how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody she was with had a Boston going on. Take that man, blah, blah, this and that, and here we go. Deal with this, blah. She said, baby, I want a hot dog. When I get through with this Boston, I'm getting ready to run. Blah, blah, blah. I said I wanted a hot dog. Okay. So in those days, so soft drinks came in glass bottles and they had these big 16-ounce ones, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She walked over to the trash can, fished out a 16-ounce bottle, came over behind him, and bam! Hit him right across the back of the head. We thought she had done him some serious harm. He got a concussion, but fortunately for her career, he didn't go in about it. I mean, he had
Oh
drool
man.
coming out of his mouth. What did you do to him? I wanted a hot dog. Well, you didn't have to come do that now. Fast forward a few years. He's
Jesus.
in law school. I'm mentoring some first year law students. So we're sitting in the UCLA Law Library,
Mm-hmm.
and they had all these flower arrangements in these big vases, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're in the back section of the library, and I've got 8 students I'm mentoring on this particular thing. I think it was contracts.
Uh-huh.
And this one guy said, Joe, I haven't read that stuff, man. You know, like just pass on me. Um, I'm gonna read it tonight. So he got mad. I came in here to get assistance. What do you mean you haven't read it? Well, you calling them. I just haven't read it. And we were going on a round table, and I was asking people questions about, some points of law. And this guy said, well, I had said I hadn't read this case, but I get the impression that so and so. That's not a bad impression. You're pretty straight up on that. And this woman says again, you're letting us down by not contributing to this. He said, well, I just did. I had to work last night. Okay, that ain't my problem. So he's sitting there and he's taking notes. You taking notes, relying on us? He said, yeah, I'm taking notes. So she gets up. I got to go to the women's room. She
Mm.
goes to the restroom. She comes back. Instead of sitting down, she grabs this big flower pot and breaks it across this guy's head.
Mm.
Blam!
What the?
Knocks him flat on the ground. I mean, she made him unconscious, and there was water all over the floor and everything. You go, well, damn, what did you just do? So the guy was breathing and he came, like, damn. He didn't report it either, but this is the one that over the course of her 45 years of legal career, it was about saving abused women and fighting against horrible men who were violent toward women.
Whoa.
And there's a thing, I think it's inexcusable to brutalize a woman,
Mm-hmm.
but there's one interesting thing that people need to understand. It's called goading, Goading. You can successfully goad a very peaceful dog into being violent. You can goad the most peaceful of humans into being violent.
Mm-hmm.
And some individuals just do not get how it goes when you're interacting with another human, and they goad people into violence. And I've actually seen people in my court, complaining about being the victims of some crime. And when you watched what they do, you say to yourself, it's inappropriate that this guy responded, but this person goaded him into becoming violent.
Mm-hmm. So it's all about content. So she was goaded by these people to do this. I mean, like not giving her the hot dog when she wanted it, and also
Yeah,
not
I
doing
mean,
the
and
homework.
it's what do you call low impulse control?
Mm-hmm. But she
And
don't
that's
have it on. Yeah. But why is the guys blamed for what she can't control? I mean, why has she got no restraint over her emotions like that? That's crazy for her to get
low
upset like that.
impulse control, and
And she
that's the
never
way
got in
I
trouble
call
for
it.
that. And she never
Never
met
got
her
in
back.
trouble, but she made a career, you know, uh, going through. One time, she even came to the Tennessee Judicial
Oh
Conference to
Lord, stay
talk
away from
about
her.
spousal abuse and violence. And I looked and saw who it was. I said, "Oh, you got to be kidding me!"
Would she ever get married though? Was she ever married?
No, she didn't.
Damn, like how can that is crazy, but it's this the world the way it is. But it's like explains. I know a woman that got that type of reputation, but she got a rap sheet longer than her arm.
Well, people didn't report such things back then.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That is interesting. Wow, like what the guys they were okay though, huh? They were like, "Oh, I'm good."
I mean, the guy she hit with the vase and the flowers took he didn't revive for a few minutes. He was cold, knocked out. And the other one that she hit with the bottle was stunned. And I mean, she'd always throw stuff at people. That was just routine. Look out for so and so. She's mad about something. Oh yeah, man, just
That
be
is
on your
crazy that
toes so you can dodge.
yeah, cause I know people. I know met a person like she's a woman. She would get in people personal space and she didn't know. They were like, then they didn't. I thought they go slap the crap out of her. They didn't do anything. Like she was just like all in their faces and stuff, escalating things. And I one situation, I was trying to de-escalate stuff. She escalated petty stuff. And I said, a
Yeah.
woman that would escalate petty things, I don't need to be around. That's danger.
Well,
That's dangerous.
if for the last 50 years, it's not so much right now because it's assumed it's women were expected to show that they were on the same level as men. And sometimes it's like, baby, you don't need to do that because even if it was two men, they'd be fighting.
Mm-hmm.
See, and that's another thing too. You don't get fights on the playground anymore. That used to be endemic when I was growing up. So by the time you got 13, 14, 15 years old, you knew that if you did this, you were going to get in a fight. Was it worth being in a fight? No, then don't. If it
Mm-hmm.
was, then go for it. Or if you didn't care, go for it. But you knew you were going to fight by the time you got to the 12th grade. It was just like you have these protocols that you have when you deal with each other. So you don't provoke the fight.
Mm-hmm.
But you see, you don't have that now. So you get police, you get citizens, you get women, you get men, and they continuously provoke each other to the point of combat without realizing it because essentially throughout their lives, they never had their ass kicked. And then you find when you get cops, they've never been in a fist fight in their whole lives. So here they are the first time it comes up out there on the streets, that adrenaline is pumping, the panic is set in. Oh my God, what's going to happen? But see, if you've been in a whole bunch of fights, it's like, oh man, here we go again.
Yes, sir.
Oh my
Well,
God, what I'm about to do? I mean, what's it gonna feel like if somebody hits me, man? How do I sit there? Does this work, man? Did I pay enough attention? And see, but otherwise, no, this ain't worth it. But if this dude comes on, I think he's probably gonna lead with, then I'll do this up with that, bam, this way, take him
uh,
down, and that'll be the end of it.
well,
But
Well, Judge, let me ask you this. I think I found this curious because I think about you ever had any cases on your TV show where you had to deal with a man bringing up charges against a woman about disrespect, like being extra handsy with him, like being violent towards him? You ever had one of those cases appearing
Well,
in
here's
court?
the thing. They've dummied down the law. There used to be an offense called assault, and there
Hmm.
used to be an offense called battery.
Right.
And then there was a conjoined offense called assault and battery. Now,
Hmm.
what is a battery? A battery is an unpermitted touching not done in the sense of pleasantry. That's the old English common law definition. What is the sense of pleasantry?
Hmm.
Slap somebody on the back. Hey, Al, man, it's so great seeing you. Oh, man, I'm sorry. I thought you were an old buddy of mine, Al.
Hmm.
See, that was touching, but it was in the sense of pleasantry. You shake somebody's hand, that's in the sense of pleasantry. You cuff somebody on the shoulder. Yeah, man, that's right. That's in the sense of pleasantry. Now, what is an assault? An assault is causing a person to be apprehensive that they are to be subjected to an unpermitted touching. Now, what do I mean by apprehensive? It does not mean fearful, it's apprehensive. What's the difference? You're 245-pound, 28-year-old all pro NFL linebacker and an 85-pound Judge Judy, who is 80 years old, comes up in a senile condition and says she's not, that's how small she is. And she comes up and says, "You look like somebody I can't stand," for years, and goes to pull her hand back and slap you. She's
Hmm.
only 85 pounds. You're 245. You've been busting heads playing linebacker for a long time. You're not in fear of her striking you, but you are apprehensive that she might. That's an assault. So if
Hmm.
you put somebody in a position where they became apprehensive that you might strike them, that's an assault. So getting all up in somebody's face is a common law assault.
Hmm.
Drawing your hand back like you're going to hit somebody under the circumstances that are 10 to 2 of you at the time is an assault. But we have had a bunch of dumb legislators who didn't get it, and they morphed everything to an assault to mean the full on attack without differentiating with what happens beforehand. So people come up with their own little stupid modifications. How many times he engaged in a verbal assault? What
Hmm.
the hell do you mean a verbal assault? A verbal altercation? That's an argument. That's not an altercation. An altercation is a fight, a physical struggle. We had a verbal altercation. You had an argument.
I do hear
So,
that.
you
Yeah.
know, people no longer make a distinction because they've been so mentally crippled that they look at any adversity as equivalent to the worst adversity. In other words, somebody punches you out, knocks you out. I mean,
Right.
that's embarrassing. But
Hmm.
that's a different form of adversity than "you stupid son of a bitch. What the hell's wrong with you?" You
Yep.
know, or
I hear that.
you see what the difference is?
Hmm.
And the people put them together and nobody teaches them. I mean, it hasn't been that recent a change. You look at Back to the Future. McFly goes back, gets his dad to stand up to Biff. And when he comes back to his present, Biff works for Dad instead of shoving Dad around.
Hmm.
But they don't. That was in the 80s. Well, I guess that's 40 years ago
That's
almost.
crazy to think about. Time is flying, McFlying, indeed. But you ever had that situation in your courts and on in like this regular
Yeah, I
life
just
versus
said I'd seen it happen up in the courtroom.
really? And why
Hmm.
actually like would you advise like people to go on court TV now to settle small differences or whatever instead of going
No,
to
I wouldn't.
Why is that?
You
What
get
changed?
paid. It's just the people that they have as the TV judges. They aren't really judges. A lot of them aren't judges. Like Maybelline Ephraim for the divorce court. She'd
Hmm.
never been a judge.
I didn't know that. Okay, wow. I
So
had
she auditioned. Judy was a judge for a long time, but she became a judge right out of law school. And as a lawyer, she never tried a case, civil or criminal, never had an appeal, never had a settlement. So the legal profession looked at Judy kind of at askance because that's not the way you act with appropriate judicial temperament.
hmm
And essentially, what she'd do is she'd script out what she was going to do with her cases when she read them the week before. So that's one thing. Judge Alex was a street cop and put himself through law school, so he had good street sense and a good understanding of what happened from all stages of the proceedings,
hmm
from one stage to the next. Judge Toller was great. The guy, I forget his name. Oh, you ready to rumble? The referee for the
Yeah.
prize fights.
Buffett,
Uh,
like Michael.
yeah,
I know you're talking about Buffer or something.
yeah.
Something like,
The
yeah.
one that was Larry Joe, Texas Justice, was an idiot. He hadn't heard about a lot of law. Mathis was always kind of ignorant because he hadn't been in the law long.
hmm
I think he was the youngest judge in Michigan history. And he shows it. And he was more interested in singing in a choir than he was doing what he did, though he could have good moments. Though it's, and then one woman was a prosecutor. She'd been out of law school 4 years. She's still on TV. She's quite popular as a commentator, but she couldn't even explain the difference between nolo contendere, which means no contest, and a guilty plea. She didn't get it, that sometimes you have a pending civil case where the entry of a guilty plea can establish the liability for the civil case. So what you do is you enter no contest, so nobody can say they entered a guilty plea. She didn't know that, didn't understand that.
Okay, I know somebody said Mills Lane, the former
Mills
boxing
Lane,
referee.
that's him. I
Yeah.
like Mills Lane. Mills Lane
Okay.
had a lot of street sense.
And also
And a
Michael.
lot of these
Yeah.
judges don't have it anymore. See, you have too many people in law, lawyers that are holding themselves out as experts, and they've never tried a case. And you've got people on the bench with the black bat capes on, and that's what I call them. So anyway, and they've never tried a case. I mean, there are judges on benches that I am personally acquainted with who never represented anybody in that kind of case as an attorney,
Wow.
and the effects are not good. Some of them over the years learned, but some of them never did. There's one woman on the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals that was made a judge 4 days after she was sworn into the bar the first time, and was on the federal bench less than 2 years out of law school. And the biggest rookie in the courtroom was the one in charge of the courtroom. That's kind of
Wow.
crazy, but we have those things. And other somebody who was a district attorney in Memphis, Tennessee, was several hours late to being sworn in because he didn't know where the criminal justice center was. And he'd never been in the criminal courthouse, but he was the new DA. We got
Wow.
one right now that was a law professor, not a trial lawyer. So, it's
I
like
know that. Yeah. So
fresh new face. New and improved is not necessarily anything other than new.
I hear that. I know Michael Buffer was the ring announcer. He was a judge too, or he is a judge, TV judge. Michael Buffer.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Judges make good mayors. Judges make good politicians. Because essentially what you are is you're exercising part of the component that used to be exercised by the baron, the duke, the earl, the village chieftain. You know, your job is to maintain public peace, dignity, and order, and when there is a dispute, to resolve them. So you divide things up. The king makes the law, enforces the law, and applies the law. In our system, you have a legislative body to make the law, an administrative function, the mayor or the president or the governor who applies the law, and you have a judicial function to interpret the law and rule on disputes. So you divide it into three areas as a check and balance, so no one is all powerful. By the way, some people don't get it.
What they gonna get?
I mean, they just don't get this idea that there is a division of power. And one of the illustrations is when you listen and give credibility to somebody running for, say, governor, mayor, or president, and they're promising to do something that under our constitutional scheme of government is reserved to the state legislative body. Or you tell somebody you can't tell the prosecution what to do or discuss the case with them. Why not? The prosecution is part of the administrative process, the executive branch of government. That's what your job is. Supreme Court, by the way, ruled on that not long ago and sustained that particular position. But then again, you make up the rules. So here you are with a thing. They were blaming Trump, for example, for the government shutdown. But under the Constitution, he can't allocate that kind of money unless it's put in his hands by the legislative body, which refused to act. And the Democrats wanted to blame the Republicans and vice versa. But the fact of the matter is the hang up was because the Democratic Party wanted an illegal family of four to still be able to claim up to $4,000, $5,000 a month in aid and get full medical benefits that a lot of Americans could not get. So that was the hang up. They said it was because the Republicans were attacking Obamacare. Well, it's under Obamacare, but the truth of the matter was the provision was, do you give free medical assistance to people who broke the law to get here, who trespassed, or do you keep it for Americans who are here because they're rightfully here? Legally here. Basically, if you crash the border, you're a trespasser.
That's interesting.
And there is a thing called Title 8, Section 1324, that's been law for more than a half century, that says aiding, abetting, giving advice, counseling, procuring, giving comfort, transportation, feeding, clothing, sheltering anyone who is an illegal alien is a crime. Setting up a sanctuary city is, in fact, a felony. So we see people loudly advocating that they are felons by setting up sanctuary cities, and the statutes specifically do not exempt someone in an official position from committing the crime. So you're mayor of Los Angeles, Bass, and you want to set up a sanctuary city, or you're governor of California, Newsom, and you want to set up a sanctuary city, or you're Ugly Urkel and the Clown Council and the chief of police and anybody else that was talking until recently about setting up a sanctuary city situation, you're guilty of a felony. And I'm waiting for the grand juries to return indictments.
Well, just speaking of that, like, you know, you believe definitely you're an advocate when it comes to freedom of speech. Just want to share something. Like, people may not be aware that your account been suspended on Twitter, and it's really a crime against this common sense to have you suspended on Twitter. You've been there since I don't know how long, for a while.
Yeah, and you know what they suspended it for?
Why?
I'm supposed to be a robot.
Oh, really?
But they keep saying, oh, I'm even the subject of Grok now, you know.
Hmm.
They even Judge Joe Brown's situation can be resolved if he just followed our appellate process. Well, I've done it several times, but when you start it, it just brings you back in a big circle to where you wind up. You are supposed to click on this particular link, and it's the one you started off with, and sends you right back around.
Well, I'm gonna make sure we're gonna push this out into the algorithms to get you back on Twitter. Your voice is very much needed, and I believe this person made a great point. American First, I think Watchdog. It said, "Judge Joe Brown's silence is Memphis afraid of free speech." Judge Joe Brown TV account on X has just been suspended, silencing one of the few voices openly calling out corruption in the city of Memphis. Judge Joe Brown has consistently exposed the deep-rooted issues plaguing our city, and this move feels like a direct blow to transparency and accountability. Why Judge Joe Brown matters. Judge Joe Brown is not afraid to speak the truth about Memphis politics. He's one of the rare voices dedicated to uncovering corruption and advocating for law and order when others look the other way. His presence on X is critical for those who want to stay informed and demand real change. You know, they say, how can we get him back on X? Encourage Judge Joe Brown or his representatives to log into suspended X account and file an official appeal, which you did.
I
Okay.
did, but there's no, see, this is what's so corrupt about it. There's really no way to do that. So you have to drop out and take other methods to send stuff to them because there's no real way to appeal it.
Well, also what we could do as the people, because we the people need to be fed by your
Yeah.
wisdom and your courage, is rally public support by tagging at support, at X, and at Elon Musk in your post about the suspension. Politely demand
Okay.
a review and a reinstatement, highlighting Judge Joe Brown's importance to local civic discourse. Is that
Would
boosted
you
on
do me a
social media?
favor?
Yes.
Would you do me a favor?
Yes, sir.
Text me that if you could.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, uh, there's another thing too. You know, people bring up who you're following, what you like, and what you repost for discipline on jobs and hiring and firing and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they tell me when I got into it and I got into some unofficial challenges, I have roughly 10 times as many people who tune in like they follow me who are afraid to formally follow me.
Mm-hmm.
Because it seems what they tell me that I was doing was way too influential for the number of followers I had.
Right. I believe it. Definitely.
So here's what it is.
No, but I don't trust the algorithm or the numbers game, because I know when I just came back from New England, I went to Boston for the first time, and people knew who I was. I was like, dang, y'all know who I am. My numbers don't reflect that though, but I go to places people know, like they want to discourage you from actually just keep on putting the information out there. But also, I want to ask you this: somebody brought it in great. What's your thoughts about Candace Owens? You was on her show last year, you did a lot of damage, a lot of wreckage towards the Democratic Party that last year. You helped a lot of us escape the plantation. But what are your thoughts about Candace Owens right now? And as well, I guess free speech in general, like Nick
Okay,
Fuentes.
let me explain
Those people.
something about Candace Owens.
Okay.
She is one of the most fascinating and personable people I've ever met. 5 minutes after I met her, it's wow, I've known her for a long time. She wanted me to adopt her as a daughter. So, anyway, yeah. Now, let me say this. Her husband freely tells people that he proposed to her 17 days after he met her.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they've got 3 children, one on the way, I
Wow.
understand.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you have to get the status that she got out of that. You ever heard of the English House of Lords?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Earl, Duke, barons, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Lord Ingerfall. So the English House of Lords in their parliamentary proceedings is roughly equivalent to the U.S. Senate. Well, her father-in-law is head of the English House of Lords. He's an earl. And under the hierarchy in England, earl is as high up as you can get without being part of the royal family. But even in the royal family, the person on the same level with you is known as a duke. Duke and earl are the same. It's just the duke is part of the royal family. So he is an English earl. He doesn't get elected. That's for life. Now, as head of the English House of Lords, he has to be moderate. But I suspect he is strongly behind her when it comes to what he would like done when nobody is looking. And that means that she probably has the full resources of England's MI5, domestic intelligence, and MI6. And if you don't recognize MI6, James Bond, 007 now,
Right.
quite was a member of MI6. So she probably has that network, and she has a whole staff. She's got a household staff, which is amazing. Forget Meghan Markle. You're visiting Candace, and my lady, would you like the chauffeur for lunch, or would you intend to drive? And which vehicle would be your choice? And you go to this place to be on one of her productions, and you take the elevator to the third floor. Looks like a moderate office building, except it's her house.
Wow.
It's like, go ahead, girl. You got it going on. So Candace Owens has this whole research staff that she employs, and she gives 500, 1,500, 2,500 to people who provide information that proves to be accurate and reliable. So she has her resources, and I think she's telling us some stuff that's way, way behind the scenes.
And she got a lot of protection because who she going after is crazy. Like, you think, I know she got security around the clock, I guess, the leaders of the elite.
Well, she, I think, has got more nerve than most people. And one little comment, the French Mitterrand and his wife, who sued her in a place she has no connection. Maybe the corporate entity, but she doesn't live in Delaware. She's a resident of Nashville, Tennessee. So why did they not file, if they wanted to file federally, in the Sixth Circuit, meaning the Middle District of Tennessee, for federal court? So I think she's got a good one, because it looks like Mitterrand and his wife filed in the wrong place. But she's got a lot of resources at her disposal. And her father-in-law, before he was made an English earl, resigned his position and sold all of his corporate interest in an entity that was once known as Enron. You remember them?
I remember Enron. Wow.
Her father-in-law was one of the founders of Enron, but apparently bailed on it when it got a little bit too wild.
Well, I ain't know she was sitting high on the hog. I mean, damn, that's
He's
impressive.
real high on the hog.
Wow.
Very, very riding with a saddle on top of the hog.
Well, she a badass. I mean, because like she is bold, like with her things and with the Charlie Kirk thing, she's really shaking up some trees, especially with Israel and how she's going at
Mhm.
Israel. I mean, that's amazing to hear. I mean, that's fascinating. That's really
Well,
fascinating.
see, here's the deal with Israel. Israel has Mossad.
Mm-hmm.
But even though it doesn't look like it on the surface, Mossad and the Israeli government are close allies to Islamic Egypt. And Egypt and Israel both collaborate to a great extent with Saudi Arabia, which has a great deal to do with Trump's reception of the High King who has visited. Now, Israeli Mossad, Egyptian intelligence, and Saudi counterintelligence collaborate to provide the United States, France, and England with a great deal of leverage and information about what's going on in the very critical Middle East. So when Jimmy Carter back in 1976 with Menachem Begin and Anwar Sadat put Egypt and Israel together, that was a major coup in the diplomatic field. And the two entities have collaborated. But there are some problems in that too often entities wind up serving as proxy for the United States directly, somewhat at odds with the interest of England and France. You also have the intrusion of the People's Republic of China and Russia, who now want a two-state solution to the problems between Palestine and Israel. And the problems with Palestine and Israel are this.
Okay.
From the 6th century on, Islam always gave a free and safe harbor to Judaism. You paid your religious taxes and you were free to practice your religion. And the Hebrew faith was looked at as part of the book. Christians were looked at as part of the book, and Islam advocated all three being considered as part of the book, people of the book.
Mm-hmm.
Now, 1099, there was a complete idiot that was a pope, and he called for a crusade to displace the knights, men at arms, and gangsters who operated with swords and spears rather than shotguns, pistols, and machine guns, to displace their violent tendencies on the Middle East, and he called for the First Crusade.
Mm.
And if anything, more Jews wound up getting killed by the Crusaders than Muslims, if the truth be known, but Islam gave them safe harbor. So in the 20th century, when they get displaced from the Middle East, Israel, Palestine, and such like, there is a feeling of betrayal. At least that's what's expressed to me. And outrage. And sometimes what happens is when those descendants of the Jewish faith who had been in Europe for 800, 900, 1,000 years came back after World War II, perhaps they were a little heavy-handed with what they do. And if you want to find out what they did, Menachem Begin, who was long-term prime minister for Israel, wrote a book about it, or at least it was ghostwritten, most likely.
Mm.
And he had been a commando for the Brits in World War II. He was adept at explosives, killing, sniping, things like that. And in his book, he talks about all of the people that he personally assassinated,
Mhm.
those he killed because he put explosives, bombs in schools, hospitals, and mosques, and all of the arson that he was personally responsible for. And when he wrote the book, he was essentially bragging about it.
Wow.
But if you want to see why there is such anger there, you get one side of it pretty thick as it is, but if you read his autobiography, you'll get the other side of it.
Hmm.
So essentially, he apologized to Anwar Sadat, who was head of Egypt, wound up getting assassinated because he collaborated with Menachem Begin in Israel, but it is what it is.
Hmm.
So that's what we have over there. Now, that young man that came and visited Trump is an interesting person. His father was the High King. There was another claimant to the throne that had a close relationship to a brother of mine who was his personal bodyguard and one of his assistants as an operative with Saudi counterintelligence. The thing was is that there was a violent period that was not well known,
Hmm.
and the previous high king and the person that was head of Saudi counterintelligence, who by the way was a born in America American citizen,
Hmm.
worked up an agreement where that person, the American citizen, was going to be high king of Saudi Arabia and would allow the previous king's young son to stand in later. Well, they double crossed him, and I think he's probably rotting away in a dungeon. And Trump is working closely with the high king, who might be looked at as a usurper.
Hmm.
So Saudi Arabia and the United States are very closely connected. Your gas prices are hooked up with this, not so much from Saudi Arabia and OPEC, but because Henry Kissinger, when he was U.S. Secretary of State under Nixon, after he had had that position under Johnson, worked through the Shah of Iran and called for some meetings, and under the urgings of our Secretary of State, OPEC was formed.
Mm.
Later on, under the urgings of Henry Kissinger, the first oil crisis in 1974 occurred, where the price of gas jumped from about 34, 35 cents a gallon all the way up to $1.25, which was horrible back then.
Right.
But Saudi Arabia was the main power in OPEC, though right now most people don't realize that Nigeria is also one of the most powerful entities in OPEC.
Mm.
And FYI, it looks like Nigeria will be the fourth largest country in the world within a few years.
Wow. Is that why Trump is going over there with the troops or want to go over there? Not about
Mhm.
Nigerian Christians. It's about that black oil.
Well, that's more rhetoric than anything else. That's what they used to call rattling a saber. In other words, I got a sword over here, listen to it rattle in the sheath. But you see, Nigeria has probably the largest army on the African continent. They have a lot of petroleum. They're
Hmm.
probably number one or number two or number three, depending upon the year, in production in petroleum for OPEC. They know how to make the bomb. And one of my roommates when I was at UCLA was into physics, and he knows how to make the bomb.
Okay.
They have the industrial basis to make the bomb.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a lot going for them, but they have some things to work out. In the north of Nigeria, 300 years ago, the Hausa and the Fulani unified. So in the north of Nigeria, you have the Hausa Fulani, which is Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the balance of Nigeria, you have two main tribes, the Igbo and then the Yoruba, which is the dominant tribe. And they went through a thing of killing each other off about 50 years ago, 40, 45 years ago. There's an uneasy peace there now, but if you go to Nigeria, you have to be very careful about the questions you answer.
Mm.
Are you a Christian? Yes, I'm a Christian. What Christian are you? Be careful what you say because your life may depend upon it.
Mm.
You know, so Christians are killing Christians, Muslims are killing Muslims, and some Muslims are killing each other. So they're trying to settle things out, and there's a developing billionaire class in Nigeria and a lot of money to be made, and they don't quite have the system that we do with its checks and balances, so they're clashing. And just like Europe went through a long period where they were trying to work things out until they got the Euro Union,
Mm-hmm.
they've got some things to do. But that triumvirate of Egypt, Israel, and Saudi Arabia basically helped the United States to maintain order in the Middle East and prevent it from being too much of a stand in for China and Russia.
Well, let me ask you about Burkina Faso. What's your take on Captain Ibrahim Traore and what he's doing in that country?
It'll work itself out.
I mean, but is it wrong for him to take control of his nation's resources and so it could benefit the people? Like he's trying to build the infrastructure, it seems, and people
No,
are
it's
calling him a
not.
terrorist. Okay.
It just depends on where you are. If the other
Mm-hmm.
guy's doing it to you, yeah, it's wrong. If you're doing it to the other guy, yeah, it's right. By the way, I think a topical thing that has come up
Mm-hmm.
is what's happening off the coast of Venezuela.
Okay, talk about that.
People want to say Trump is really breaking the law, he's a dictator and everything else. There's no justification. Well, actually, there is, and there's an absolute mandate for him doing exactly what he's doing.
Okay.
Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution says it is the duty of the commander in chief and the armed forces of the United States to, quote, enforce the law of nations, unquote. It also says in there that it is the duty of the United States Navy to essentially pursue, suppress, etc., piracy wherever found in the world, wherever found. And Article 6 of the Constitution says that ratified treaties are part of the supreme law of the land, and the president and all judges, state and federal, have an obligation to enforce those treaties. And the
Mm.
treaties that we're talking about are international treaties that have made the transportation of illicit drugs upon the high seas crimes and also acts of piracy. So, for two reasons: one, the law of nations, and two, the fact that it's piracy. The
Mm-hmm.
president, as commander in chief, and the American armed forces have a constitutional obligation to oppose them. And three, that's clarified by Article 6 that talks about ratified treaties. So when the Constitution says you are the commander in chief, so it's your duty to enforce the law of nations, unquote. And the law of nations prohibits high seas trade in drugs. You got to enforce it. And when it's talking about piracy, which those treaties declare what they're doing, that's acts of piracy because there are also kidnappings and other things going on the high seas and seizure of boats to be used to transport the illicit drugs. That's the pursuit, eradication, and suppression of piracy wherever found in the world. And by the way, if you want to get along, how long has this been going on? Marine Corps hymn, from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli.
Yep.
That's the pirate haven for Tripolitan pirates back on the Barbary coast before the War of 1812.
Right.
And then let us not forget something that is about as old. We have the Monroe Doctrine. And there is international trade that's coming in that deals with violence that is impacting what's going on in this hemisphere. And the Monroe Doctrine has been a long established policy of the United States to become actively involved when foreign entities start interfering with governance in this particular hemisphere.
Mm.
So we've got Article 1, Section 8, Article 6, and we have the Monroe Doctrine, those three things that make what Trump is doing an obligation as commander in chief. How
Now,
about that?
I love it because Trump has done more. It's like we already had him for president for 3 or 4 years. He's done so much and so much. I love the controlled chaos. I love the control. I like the fact that he's doing stuff that's beyond people's comprehension. Like, people don't really know what it means. Like, it's only a few group of people that can say, I know what it feels like to be a president. But the way he's moving is not about, I'm trying to make you like me. It's just about respect. This is actually about the long game. Because I like how he handled Mendoni, whatever the guy named that got elected to New York mayor, how he handled him in the Oval Office. You know, how he, offered him a chance to, hey, you can have a seat at the table. I'll listen to you, you listen to me, type of deal. Like, he understands the fine art of politicking and being diplomatic, and also being a shrewd businessman and playing things close to the vest versus putting everything out on the table. I mean, he's a master at psychology to me, and people don't get that.
Let me
They
say
don't
something about
understand it.
Mondani. Mondani's been selling a lot of wolf tickets because I'm saying
I'm listening. I'm listening.
he's trying to get in office. So what is he going to do once he gets in office? See, just about 90% of what he promised, he doesn't have the
Nah, bankroll.
state constitutional authority to do.
Right.
He can't privatize the grocery industry in the city of New York. He can't set out and say, I am going to seize and nationalize or urbanize all of the transportation industry in New York and provide free transportation. He can't do that. That, amongst other things, is up to the legislative body if they could do that on a constitutional basis. And the other thing is, that's been defined as property, and you can't deprive somebody of property without compensation. It's called eminent domain. That is not going to allow eminent domain to be exercised. So Mendoni's been selling a bunch of wolf tickets, but he might have something that he intends to do behind the scenes, which might fit in with Trump's agenda. Remember, this man's got to play chess. And the other thing is, it's time for somebody to be in charge and not a figurehead, and time for somebody who is not trying to use the office to get rich.
Right.
Now, here's the bottom line. You take Trump, and Trump has an interesting job. He needs to administer a laxative to the country And then when the laxative has had a chance to have its effect, he needs to give it an enema too. And when you put those things together, you get a lot of shit squirting out and it stinks to hell. So that's kind of what we have right now. Trump is administered the laxative and is administering the enema. And a lot of people don't like it, but
And
it's
yeah.
necessary.
But a lot of people on politics, they don't understand really politicians or how to be a business. Most people are not business owners, let alone business people. They know how to make decisions. And I look at Mendani, he gonna take a page out of the book of LaGuardia. Cause I think LaGuardia was brilliant in the way he handled situations. He was a Republican mayor, but he knew he had to have an open door policy with Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal administration, because Franklin was the governor of New York State, but also he was the most powerful man in the world. So he played nice with Franklin Roosevelt. He got with the business, getting on the agenda. And he did a lot of great things for the city of New York, LaGuardia. So I think Mandani got a chance to be like Mandani's interest. I don't think people realize that it was Soros put him in that position, the Soros camp. Then his police commissioner is a billionaire heiress, the Tish lady. She's a billionaire, and he's dealing with a billionaire in the White House. So he got all these billionaires he's dealing with. So he's gonna find a way to make that work. I
Yeah,
believe he's gonna be more successful than people give him credit for.
and then I think Tish is going to wind up in a jail.
Oh, you think so? But she's billionaire. I mean, like, what she's the police commission. She cleaned up New York, the NYPD.
No, she didn't do
Cleaned it
that.
up.
She used it for crookedness. You can see what she's left a big paper trail. That's why
Okay.
they indicted her in Virginia. It's little crazy stuff. Like you get the financing
I ain't
that
talking about
you.
Letitia James. I'm talking about the police commissioner Tish.
Oh,
The police
I
commissioner
was talking
Tish, the
about Ted.
billionaire heiress. I didn't know she
Oh
was a
yeah,
billionaire heiress.
yeah. Her.
That Tish.
I
I ain't
keep.
talking about. Well, Letitia
I
James. She
keep.
is. I think Joe Biden did his black prosecutors a disservice by not giving them preemptive pardons. Like Fannie and Letitia, they out there. They on their way out. I believe.
Yeah, that's they're going to jail. They
Mhm.
just and a lot of people in Memphis are going to jail too.
Oh, really? I mean, we think about the Ford case, the young Ford guy, Commissioner
I
Ford.
think what they're doing with him is they're putting him in a position where he has to be a snitch and tell on everybody so he doesn't get jacked up too badly. He was the one that was most vulnerable, but Tammy Sawyer, Paul Young, the police um, chief, you're looking at people who will probably be in jeopardy. You're getting some on a lower level. You're looking at a number of the suspects that you read off on that first list. Now,
Mhm.
I'm just saying that it wouldn't be hard for a vigorous federal prosecutor to get quite a few indictments returned. If you think back what happened with the other Ford, Harold Ford Sr., and the indictments that were returned against him and the governor of the state, Ray Blanton. And
Mhm.
by the way, you remember Buford Pusser and all of that walking
Walking
tall.
tall. Yeah. They
You
say he
know
killed
who
his
the
wife, supposedly about him.
yeah, I know. Well, forget all of that stuff, but just what happened to him. You remember the unmentioned villain that
Mhm.
was behind everything in the movie?
Uh-huh.
That was Ray Blanton.
The
Ray
governor.
Blanton was the governor. He was into banking crime. He was into highway rackets,
Mhm.
moonshine rackets, gambling, prostitution, and
So he was a
apparently with
gangster as governor.
yeah. That, but you see, he got indicted too. So when they had that Tennessee Waltz thing, and
Mhm.
before the Tennessee Waltz thing, when they got Harold Sr.
Mhm.
and Ray Blanton, they swept up a lot of people. And I think that's going to happen again.
You know what's interesting about the Tennessee Wall? I mean, I just find like Mayor Harrington is so brilliant to me, because even the mayor of Atlanta, Bill Campbell, went to federal prison, and they had the same beg man. And Harrington get touched. Cause I don't believe, like I tell people, I don't believe Harrington was corrupt like that. He wasn't
He
corrupt like that.
wasn't. He wasn't. And
He might have been greedy because he's a Taurus, but he wasn't corrupt. he
he was,
liked nice things, but he wasn't
yeah.
corrupt.
But
Yeah.
see, he had an interesting position because of his physical presence and
Mhm.
his style. he wound up being on the board of directors for a lot of major corporations, like in the automotive industry and
Right.
the heavy manufacturing. And those pay quite a bit of money for sitting on their boards of directors. So, whereas some of the locals were talking about, what is it, $45,000 for introducing, a contract that the
That's
county
so
buys.
retarded. That's so
Yeah,
retarded. I mean,
yeah,
like
or
45 million or 4.5 million for that, buddy.
yeah, 101 million, that they're going to split a piece of the
Yeah.
action on. Everybody gets some of this play. We're
Yeah.
talking salaries of $1.5 million, 2 million a year, which when you get those coming in and you've got a comfortable existence off of a fixed paycheck, you have a lot of wiggle room for investment, especially when people are trying to curry favor. So you don't have to take the penny ante petty BS under the table.
But I mean,
And
when
by
you
the
get
way,
paid
I'll
enough.
say this,
Mhm.
he got advised to stay clear of what swept up Atlanta's mayor.
Bill Campbell.
By the way, our chief of police allegedly was caught up in that too.
I won't doubt it. See, like she keep on falling forward. Like she fails. Like she's just the most competent, incompetent person. I mean, she's like, she one of those generals in the military. They not necessarily really smart, but they don't ask no questions. They do what they told. They
Yeah,
don't,
they get to a
and they get
certain level.
promoted.
They
Yeah.
get promoted or
Mm-hmm.
they get promoted up. You get a
Yeah.
promotion to get rid of you.
I mean, I ain't mad, but my thing is, if I'm the mayor or Shelby County or the mayor of Memphis, I'm making 6 figures with benefits. I'll just take my salary and invest on my own in certain things. This is why you got to steal from the people, though, man. You get
Well, let
paid
me
your
give you a
money and
perspective.
benefits.
The Department of Labor sets what figure as the lowest for being firmly middle class if you're single.
Mm-hmm.
It's 125,000 a year. That is the bottom line on being middle class in America if you're single.
Ooh, okay.
Now, 6-figure income just means, according to the standards of economics, you're middle class in America.
Mm-hmm.
See, and that makes what Nancy Pelosi did. What is she supposed to be worth? $100-some million,
Yeah, she a mafia princess too. Her daddy was the mayor of Baltimore. He was a gangster.
Yeah, I know. So
He's from California, but she's from Baltimore too.
it makes it very interesting in terms of how
Mhm.
wealthy she's gotten off of a
Insider
lifetime.
trading, like inside trading and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
all
Yeah.
that allegedly.
Allegedly. Yeah, allegedly.
So
Mhm.
some people look at politics as a duty, like serving in the military
Mhm.
or being a fireman or
Right.
being a cop, rushing into a flaming building at risk of your own life to save somebody,
Mhm.
joining up when the country is threatened so that you can get at the enemy. Don't buy that one. Joining up so you can fight the slave masters and help free your people. And it's before 1865.
Mhm.
All kinds of reasons to do stuff. That's the same with politics. And then you have people who get involved in military ventures because they get money out of it.
Yeah. I mean, everybody got because like I was explaining to my aunt who's a military veteran, retired. Power is not about morality. That's a personal thing. Power is about being able to get stuff done, getting leverage, getting what you want. It's not about right or wrong. It's the nature of what it is. And my thing is the people that go for money, you look at people that really were powerful people like a Crump or a Daley who were mayors, they didn't care about money, they care about power. Because you can make anything currency. If you got real power, you can make anything currency. You can make whatever you want currency. With real
Boss
power.
Crump, Boss Crump.
Boss Crump, Mayor Daley, Boss Daley, all them guys.
Mayor Jimmy Thompson,
Yeah,
Sheriff Jimmy Thompson.
yeah.
Around here, see, I find it interesting with these little fruitcake boule little
Yeah,
punklets and
yeah.
punkaladas that we've got holding office in our area, and
Uh-huh.
contrasting that with these folk who had this personal dynamic and charisma. They could stop the
Mhm.
vehicle and get out, and everybody gathers
Right.
round, and they're
That's
glad to
right.
see them, and they got deference. And these little mincing, half-stepping idiots running around in fear all the time.
Mhm.
What was it Tammy Sawyer said? I was getting all these threats. Why would you get threats as clerk of the court? All you do is keep the records.
You're a
Or
bureaucrat.
is,
Right.
yeah, or is there something else? So you
Right.
got to bring somebody from Mississippi in armed to protect you, and you got by Tennessee law, you have the elected sheriff has got to be the bailiff of the criminal courts, of which there are lower level criminal courts over there where you are the clerk of, and all of the bailiffs who are clerks of the court, and you are supposed to work for the judges. Oh, forgot about that. You're special. They supposedly work for you.
Mhm.
And they can't secure the courthouse, but you got to bring in somebody from Mississippi. You've lost your mind.
That, Judge, that's interesting you point that out because I just think it is fascinating because somebody suing her that used to work for her that was investigating all the spending from her office. That they were
He
spending a
wouldn't
lot of money.
sign off on it
They
and
wouldn't sign off on it. He
risk
was
going
doing
to
his job.
jail.
Yeah, he was
He
doing his
wasn't
job.
going to jail.
Yeah. I think he might
And
win that case. I
he's
think
going to win it. You should
okay.
read it.
I read a summary of from the Daily Memphian like last week. I said, man, that sounds like a good case he got. He may not
Yeah,
be able
he's
to work
got
in
a.
Memphis anymore, but
Well, no, he worked in Memphis because who's going to hold him back? Most of these folk are going to wind up in jail. They're going to have another Tennessee Waltz or another sting like they did when they got Blanton and some other folk around there. See,
yeah.
Tennessee will put politicians in jail.
They would. They show, but my thing is like my concern is the boule. Like it's a lot of them, like Paul Young's a Kappa. You got a lot of Kappas in position, a lot of different sororities in position. I said you can't serve but one master at a time. I mean, are y'all really go be gatekeeping for the people? Or are y'all gatekeeping for the power they think they be? Like, are
Well,
y'all
yeah.
doing the people business? Y'all can't serve both.
Well, yeah, and see the other thing too. That's why you have the chief. She's a
Mm-hmm.
Delta, so Strickland thought he was going to get the Deltas honchoing the black female vote,
Oh
so
my
he
God!
could get an extension on his term limit.
But he's still running
And
Memphis from his dean as the law school, right? He's still running Memphis, right? He's still
that
paying
ain't much
Paul.
of a law school.
But he is controlling City Hall. You think he's still controlling City Hall from the law school?
I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't think it's coming from that thing. It's caught from, if you are corrupt and you do things that are corrupt, then you get advantages, but you also have an anchor around your neck because that's how people can get you.
But I like when people corrupt. Like you look at Jimmy Hoffa. He was corrupt, but he got stuff done for the Teamsters.
Yeah, it did, but
It was
that's
beneficial. You know what I'm saying? It's like corrupt in Memphis is different from corrupt in Chicago. You could be corrupt. I was talking to D Wade sister. I said, what I like about Chicago, y'all can be corrupt and still get stuff done.
yeah. Well, that was the idea. The corrupt
Yeah.
politicians maintained their power because they always delivered for the ordinary person.
They don't do that
But
in
these
Memphis though.
clowns don't do shit for ordinary
You know what I'm
people.
saying? That's a problem to me. You're not doing nothing. Y'all like, Elon Musk needs somebody that's gonna, I guess, be a friend, but also make some demands on why they're here. Like invest in our city infrastructure. Like we letting y'all use our water and all this stuff. They don't know how to politic or they don't know how to do no compromises. They don't know how to be diplomatic, legislative minded. They not that. All they do is complain about race. It's like it's white supremacy and blackface. What y'all talking about?
I
Y'all the one
assume
doing the dirt.
I assume there's somebody that would disagree with me, but I, over the last month, haven't talked to anybody outside of the Democratic Party apparatus who is upset with the National Guard being here.
No, it's an interesting, peaceful quiet. I think even coming out of town, you can feel the quietness. It's different.
Yeah, I mean, for the last month, I've been driving around at night, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I mean, I'm not hearing the gunfire I heard regularly and all of the clown shows you could see.
Yeah, that's a good thing, actually. Also, what you think about the situation in Wolf Chase Mall, the shooting, the guy who Mexican or something, Mexicans got into it. It wasn't us. It was brown on brown violence.
It was a punk play. He put his hands on me. Well, if he put his hands on you, you punch him,
Right.
wrestle him, fight him. You don't go shoot him. That's a punk play. That's what I call a bitch act because it's so feminine.
Mm-hmm. He
So
got on
feminine.
live. He got on live like he just did the right. It was stand your ground. And he was trying to like it was a stand your ground thing. When you,
No,
I mean,
that's so effeminate.
mm-hmm.
That is so unmanly.
Mm.
I saw it on when I was on the bench toward the latter part of my time there. Young man, if he did this to you, why didn't you just have a fight with him, punch it out? With due respect, Judge, look at me. I'm pretty. I can't afford to have no scars on my face because my women likes the way I look. And I lives off my ladies. I can't have no disfigurations. So you a punk and a sissy.
Mm-mm-mm. You have
That's
to worry
what's
about
wrong.
that in
See,
prison.
that's what's wrong with a lot of people today. They didn't get spanked. They didn't get switched. They didn't get ass whooping, so they don't know what that is. So they assume they can get away with anything. Did
Mm-hmm.
you hear when the campaign was going on? One of the frequent topics that came up during these, I guess you call them small meet and greets, but no
Mm-hmm.
debates with the mayoral candidates for the city. This is where I met my wife, right over here when we were in high school,
What
and
you,
I've
man,
never,
Turner?
you know, like really, dude, you know. And I get told, old man need to take his decrepit ass and sit down. Yeah, because I'm embarrassing you and you don't know what to do with him.
Mm-hmm.
Bring it on.
I mean, I definitely feel like, Judge, you're a wise counselor. You got a heart for the people. You are a true, public servant to me. Like I told Harrington, as long as the people want to hear from you, you always gonna be a public servant. He said, I'm retired. I said, no, you never retire from the people. As long as people want to hear from you and you got something to offer, you always will be of good service to the people until they say otherwise. But my thing is this is like these people are jokes. Life is too short to be doing this weird chasing our tail every generation. Like we just wasted 25 years of a century.
Yeah, but the
Memphis should be,
problem with
yeah.
this generational thing is never before in modern history, or probably in world history, has there been a more privileged, entitled group of brats that have never had an ass whooping, never been held accountable for what they did, never got spanked, nothing. And they don't have a sense of proportion.
Mm-hmm. We love you all madly. Yeah, but Sister Vera. I think I don't know who they did, but they said they love you both of you gentlemen. But what you saying is true. But I mean, I think everything is like it's chaos. But I'm glad it's happening. I feel like with Trump, it's like he's God's hammer or wrecking ball. He's coming through and shaking up the place. Business as usual is over now. It's time for a regime change. It's time for a new spirit. It's time for a renewed commitment to the greatness of making America America. And this time we're gonna be more inclusive. But I think like even when I'm gonna be by myself for Thanksgiving because a lot of people can't stand my politics and I just can't be around people I can't talk sense with. But like I told one of my loved ones recently that Trump cannot erase history. He's making us acknowledge stuff we didn't know existed. Like Harry Truman said, the only thing new is the history that you don't know. It's time for us to fight for what is ours. and reclaim that narrative and counterpunch. He is helping us become more in tune with us. He is being utilized to get us back on point to make America a producing giant again by any means necessary, because we are far behind. We are far behind. And it's like we got people graduating and can't even read their diploma, can't spell diploma. But
And
they're
we have
and they got
people,
kids. And you
and
making a
we have
generation.
people who are supposed to be leaders who
Right.
couldn't even lead 5 folk out of a kindergarten class.
That's right. This is travesty, sir. And
You know
Mussolini was
what?
a teacher and Lyndon B. Johnson was a teacher.
Yeah, you know what? What's going on is we were being swept along by a sluice of water that had been just thrown down on a concrete floor to make it slippery.
Mhm.
So we could go back on the farm
Mhm.
on a pre-Civil War plantation run by a Democratic Party that was no longer into King Cotton, but into Tranny Queen Rainbow. That's where we were going, and that's what they were doing. I mean, good politics for them, but nobody else. So it's kind of sort of, where were we supposed to go from there? Nobody had anything about an economic plan except,
Mhm.
oh, we'll give you all you ever want. Well, where are you going to get that from? No plan.
Right.
Oh, the rest of the world hates us, so we'll just put rainbow flags under our American flag at our
Yeah, empathy.
embassy
Yeah.
and consulates, and piss everybody else off. And our military, we'll advertise the advantages so you can wear a skirt if you still got a dick, and it's not a kilt. And meanwhile, after pissing everybody off very egregiously, we'll open up the border so Al Qaeda, ISIS, Hamas, Iran, North Korea, China, they can bring anybody over they want, walk in with a backpack with military grade explosives and advanced electronic detonators, and they don't have to be a suicide bomber anymore. They can take time and plant the devices where they want them and wait till they get the orders and flip the switch. Jihad by remote, 911 will look very soft by comparison. So yeah, really, what do you stand for?
Right.
Oh, we're going to make sure that if you have a certain paint job, you get the job.
Mhm.
Well, some of those folk with that paint job, if I was not worried about breaking the law, I'd beat senseless. So I want them running just because they got the
Mhm.
suntan. Doesn't make
Yeah.
sense to me. Or she's a woman, so she's an idiot. She's a bitch. Why the hell do I want her running stuff? Pick one that's competent. You don't even like that kind because they don't raise all that fool hell.
But but it said Kamala coming back in 2028 and she want AOC to be her VP. You got Kamala Harris and AOC in the White House. It's over. It's done. America's done
No,
if they happen.
please do that. Please put Kamala Harris and AOC together so we can get JD Vance in there.
But now Trump said he try to get that third term. Steve Bannon
Yeah,
confirmed it.
he's talking. Trump doesn't
Okay.
want to be there past this point. He's not even finished his first year. Do you realize that he got sworn
There's so
in
much stuff
January?
going on. He got so much. It's incredible. I
So
never seen
much
nothing like
done.
this.
He hadn't even been in the office for a year. He's got 3 more years, and he will be 82 years old.
Mm.
So he will be probably known as one of the more powerful presidents we've had. And interestingly enough, there's only one U.S. president who was villainized more than him.
But Truman, Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln.
That's right. And I think he's like the maybe I don't know. Man, it's so interesting, Judge. It's like I can't talk to our people about a lot of this stuff. They got Trump derangement syndrome. I never seen no type of phenomenon. 10 years ago, y'all loved Trump though, until he announced for the White House. America
Until
loved
not
Trump.
that he announced for the White House, he said, "I'm gonna make this country man up."
That's the problem. But he
Yeah,
was
that's
so
what he's doing.
beloved.
He said, "Well, I'm making you. You gonna have to man up."
Yeah, I think this is like an era. I don't know, like the stuff he's doing is gonna be so beneficial decades from now. I
Yeah,
really believe that. It ain't gonna
because
happen maybe like anytime soon, but it's gonna be beneficial.
it was going to hell as it was.
Yeah. And I believe he still won in 2020. They fixed that.
I think he did. And the election, I know the election process is corrupt around here.
Mhm.
November last year, when they had the last election cycle, I was down there in the election commission office out by the penal farm, and they were running around frantically because they had more votes at certain precincts than they had people who signed in to vote.
Mhm.
And I know for the early voting, I'm sitting at the table and I watched two people vote twice.
Wow. Did they walk back outside and come back in, or they just?
No, it's those, you get the option of writing your own ballot.
Mhm.
There's no serial numbers or any identifying marks or way
Wow.
to
Oh,
conduct an audit
mm-mm-mm.
or an inventory of those. So after the polls close, anybody can come down with a stack and just run them through the second machine, and they're counted, but you wind up with more votes than you do people who signed in to vote, but there's no time stamp on them. So which ones do you throw out? You can't.
I don't know. Well, it's the Animal Farm. This is 1984. It's like the one that flew over the cuckoo nest, Clockwork Orange, the Hunger Games, all in one. It's called 2025, y'all.
Yeah, and it's called Memphis, Tennessee, down by the banks of the holy mighty river, Mississippi. Yes, sir, it is.
Well, Judge, I'm glad you spent this time with us. You spent like a full football game time with us, and I want to get your closing thoughts. I know happy holidays or hella days to you if you celebrate whatever it is. What's some closing thoughts we can leave to the people?
Be glad your ass isn't a turkey.
And there ain't no jive.
And some were treating you like you was a turkey. You jive turkey. You said it.
Thank you, Judge, so much for spending time with us today. You are truly a national treasure. We're gonna find a way to get you back on X and on the main street of social media, so we
I
can hear
might,
from you.
if somebody can raise some money, I might do something else to straighten this town out. But we'll see.
Okay. So you said you gonna run for county mayor? You think?
Ah,
How much is like? How much does it take? Cost? You ran for mayor. How
yeah.
much
Well,
would it
when I
cost?
ran for mayor, 3, 5, 13, 24, they wouldn't take my ad money. And they
Mhm.
refused to let it be known I was Judge Joe Brown, and they kept running the pictures for 5 weeks leading up to the election of clerk, former city councilman Joe Brown.
I know about he good people. I got like him. Okay.
I like him; he's a friend of mine, but I
Mhm.
mean, he
Yeah, that's
was
y'all
sick
different. Yeah.
and he ain't me.
Right, exactly. Nobody's you, Judge. You are one of one. So that's definitely. But you ran, and so how much you think would take to run a successful campaign if you're gonna run for county? Man, how much money you think would take? Estimate.
Probably a couple of $100,000, 350K to get started. 500,000 would be better because you've got to put up ads because they don't have these forums anymore where you can engage in a vigorous debate. You
What
don't
about the people
have these
convention?
things. What's that?
The people's summit or the convention, Dr. Earl Fisher's.
That wasn't, no,
Mhm.
that was weak.
Mm.
So you need they used to have things where people would put on affairs for their block, and then you'd
Mm-hmm.
talk to the politician, and they'd have town hall situations where you could get to know them. But now they blank everything off so nobody can get heard. And the media, mainstream media, is just fundamentally dishonest, and it's the same family that controls all of it. Commercial appeal 3 5 13 24.
And so, ain't no way to break that monopoly. Is there any way to break it?
Yeah, there is, but you have to go outside of Memphis and get advertisement exposure through outlets like yours, or uh, stuff that comes in from outside of the city. That's like what happened with this stay on the National Guard. It didn't happen in Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
Should have said something about that. The
Uh-huh.
judge was elected up in Nashville, not
Mm-hmm.
Memphis. So
Mm-hmm.
that person was not answerable to the local individuals.
Mm. I don't have a problem with
Also,
National Guard.
you've got some interesting stuff going on up there in Nashville too. Uh, that shooting, remember the 6 people got killed up there at the school a few
Mm-hmm.
years ago, where
By a tranny,
Justin
right?
led was a
Mm-hmm.
tranny. Well,
Transplant.
he had a manifesto he wrote out. So this black female judge up there sealed it,
Mm-hmm.
but somebody in law enforcement let a conservative reporter photocopy it, so he won't tell who did, and she wants to keep him locked up for contempt. But he has integrity as a reporter, and he's not going to do it.
Okay, cool.
So we find out that the alleged perpetrator was very angry about people taking advantage of what he felt was his immaturity to convince him or encourage him to be trans, when they should have been talking him out of it and encouraging him to be normal.
Mm-hmm. I hear that. I think a lot of people feel like they made a mistake because that's a final thing when you cutting stuff off, and
Yeah.
biologically you never be that biologically.
No, you
Which
can't.
is
You're
crazy.
fake. You're
Yeah.
not. See, it's like, why are all these people going along with this Democratic Party thing to take their puppies to the vet and get them neutered?
All right.
Except they aren't pooch puppies, they're people puppies.
Mm-hmm.
Get your
The Democrat,
children neutered.
they were at the convention performing abortions outside the convention in Chicago last year.
Well, abortion's one thing, but when somebody's already here to go cut his nuts and his penis off, or get rid of her ovaries so you can neuter them, that's like what you do to a pet dog or cat.
I blame Reagan for shutting down the mental institutions back in.
Yeah, you
This
should.
is what we're dealing with. You got the crackheads, and you got the mentally insane making babies and grandkids now and great grand. The country's a big mental asylum.
Yeah, it is.
Asylum. I mean, it is. That's why I try to be kind. That's why I say dealing with women. I don't want to date right now because some of these women are off. They judge. You just don't. I think you understand, but it's so different.
It's hard to find
I don't
women
want to
these
date right
days.
now.
It's hard to find women these days because
Yeah, that's
they've been
crazy.
conditioned to do those things that are exactly opposite to what's necessary to make a happy home.
Right. Because women got to keep. If the woman can't keep peace, man, I don't want to be around an unpeaceful, chaotic woman like that.
No, that's not.
Yeah.
That's not amusing.
No, it's not.
It's like,
draining.
why do you want to fight? Well, I want to make sure that I come out on top. Why is that important? Cooperate.
Right.
What are you trying to do? Go join a flag football league or something.
It's crazy. Cause I'll be trying to then they'll call you a punk if you trying to, de-escalate and mediate and trying to keep, everybody, let's not get, oh, you a punk for doing that. These guys taking advantage of you. I said, not really. I'm just trying to keep the peace. I want to make sure my back is covered. I'm not from here, and I don't want to be on the street and he can't say, oh, this is the guy that messed us over, or he was with that girl that messed us over. Let's get him. You know, if a woman puts you in those type of
What is that
situations,
punk play stuff? You don't sit there and gun down a man because some woman looked at him twice that you were interested in.
yeah,
At most, you keep your mouth shut and get your own game together.
it's woman's choice, it's lady's choice always. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
and
saying?
if it get
Choose me, or choose me.
and and if it gets to a conflict, punch it out.
But you know, the
Don't
thing
shoot
about
it
it was
out, punch it out.
that guy on social media, it stays forever. People don't like to look bad. No, that's when they record you, that's forever. Back in your time, they didn't have social media or phones where you record people getting the ass whooped. Y'all can talk it out and make up and be friends, but that's forever once they get you on camera getting knocked out or slapped. That's what they looking at.
Spent all this time learning how to do a line dance and not enough trying to figure out how to do martial arts. And then a line dance, I refuse to learn. I call that I can't get nobody to dance with me dancing.
Yeah, I don't care for line. I boycott that. I
If
don't
I
care for
want
that.
to dance, I'll go ask a woman to dance and we'll dance maybe 2 or 3 of them at a time. But I
I
ain't
like
getting
that.
in any line dance. That always struck me as silly.
But you know the thing about it is women that dance with each other, they don't even want to dance with
I
men.
know that.
You know, and I like, why are we here though? Like, what's the point? You know, my sister told me she went to an adult prom. It was nothing but women there. Like maybe 1 or 2 dudes. I said, why you didn't tell me about it? I would have came
What
up
the
to
hell is an adult prom?
I mean, like, you know, women, I guess, you know, you missed out. You know, people trying to relive things, but it was nothing but women there. And it was no dudes. It was like women got dressed up, they spend all this money on dresses and whatnot. It was no guys there, really. Maybe
You
1 or 2.
know,
I said, I would have loved to been there.
a very beautiful woman, Aida Rodriguez. She's Puerto Rican.
Mm-hmm.
She's a stand-up comedian. She's been here in Memphis a time or two.
Mm-hmm.
She and I are friends. So some years ago, her 20-something-year-old daughter, who was just drop dead gorgeous, tall and fine,
Mm-hmm.
was hired by Anheuser-Busch to do some modeling. So it was at a venue, literally in 90210 Beverly Hills, in this downstairs nightclub like you
Yeah.
see in the movies. Big,
Mm-hmm.
huge place.
Mm-hmm.
They had several DJs, couple of bands, and all of this. And some of the older adults who were parents of some of the young ladies who were the professional models, and they were pros. That's what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was Aida's date, I guess, and we're down there, and we're looking at these guys all walked hunched over, looking straight ahead, and all of these pretty, pretty girls. This is Hollywood, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They are see-through, brief, bare, and they look like they'd been going to the gym working
Oh yeah, I
out.
like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys ain't even looking. And we're going, what's the matter? And
Uh-huh.
then the gay boys were out on the floor dancing with each other in one corner of this big dance floor. And the lesbians, young lesbians, were over here dancing with each other in one corner on the opposite corner. And nobody normal was out dancing. So we grown folk were going, something's wrong with this picture.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So somebody said, we're going to ask these kids. So I go over and I say, young man, why aren't you paying attention to, you know?
Right.
Yeah, they looking good, but I ain't going over there, hey man, I ain't getting no little fool getting the opportunity to work me. They just running game, man, trying to see if they get some money, man. If they
Uh-huh.
want to take my digits, man, I'll give it to them. They can call me.
Uh-huh. That sounds about right.
And then one of the women went over and asked one of them, baby, why do you keep running your fingers through this other girl's hair? Are you a lesbian or something? She said, no, I just want to meet her. That's how we signal we want to meet.
Hmm.
Oh, well, how come you don't talk to the boys? Ain't nobody got no time for them.
Mm.
So you're a lesbian. No. Well, you said you didn't have time for the boys. Hey,
Wow.
they came back and we had a little group meeting in the back, like, what the hell are we looking at?
Social media programming.
It's like, what the hell happened here?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody said, this is Beverly Hills. This is a very exclusive club. This is West Hollywood. This
Uh-huh.
is what is going wrong here?
Mm.
And these girls are very attractive.
Right.
And the boys aren't even looking.
Mm. It's a reverse. I mean, it's kind of weird because, like, you're afraid to get a charge though, like a Me Too, sexual harassment. You give a woman a compliment, sometimes they'll take offense to that. Like, a lot of guys ain't used to being active because, like, the roles have been reversed. Where women are more aggressive now these days than the men.
Yeah, well, I've had many a grown woman tell me, what's wrong with the guys? They don't compliment the girls. I said, hey, bad. She said, I feel bad. Nobody's told me I look good in a long time. I said, well, they're scared to do it. And this woman said, I wish I could find one of these lesbian fools and slap them upside their heads for ruining it for all the rest of the normal women. I said, well, that's they have the media in their pocket, and that's what they've done to insinuate their worldview. Yours is supposedly obsolete.
Yeah.
But if it
It's
wasn't for
unfortunate.
ours, they wouldn't be here.
Mm-hmm. It's unfortunate, man, to look at the reality of the situation that we find ourselves in. Hopefully it could be remedied, the so-called battle of the sexes and stuff needs to be put to
There's
an
always been a battle of the sexes, but hell is fun.
end. Well, Judge, thank you so much.
Sometimes. But anyway,
Sometimes it's like moderation, but Judge, thank you so much for spending so much time with us today, dropping that wisdom as usual. Hopefully the people got enough sense to rewind and pick it up off the flow and put it in their pocket so it could grow some more. So on that note, thank you so much, sir.
all right, young man, take it
All
easy.
right.
I'm out
I
of
got
here.
it. Yes, sir. And that does it for this info edition of the Artivist Presents We All Be TV. We all be in it to win it. I want to thank Judge Joe Brown for spending so much time with his brother Ron on this wonderful Saturday. Day. And thank you all out there is be listening to this, is going to listen to it in the replay. Support the words of Brother Herb. Please spread the word. We all be TV too. You can donate your support cash app, $ R2C2H2. You can PayPal, Zelle your support, R2C2H2 at gmail.com. You can Vimo your support at R2C2H2, Applecast 901-299-4355. That's 901-299-4355. The Applecast. Also, you can join our Patreon, patreon.com/we all be. Also, if you are on YouTube, you can go below this video. There should be a shelf with some of our t-shirts and merch. Go purchase some of that today. Hey. And I just really thankful for you all for supporting what we've been doing over the years. I've been podcasting for 18 years now. 8 + 1 is 9. Beginnings and endings. I started my first podcast, or I did my first podcast January the 7th, 2007. So I've been hanging in there, y'all. I wish me 18 more years of doing this thing, of informing and feeding the masses. So with that said, I'm going to close it out. I've been doing a lot of songwriting lately, and I want to end it with a song, a Ronald Hurd original song. All right, going to end it like that. And thank y'all so much for being so patient with me. as I bring you on the journey of Brother Ron and We All Be. So we most definitely be in it to win it. So with that said, let me close it out with this. We talking about hot dogs in Rhode Island, call them gaggers. Gaggers. Got some gaggers. So we're gonna be on our way. Gonna close it out with one of our latest joints out here. Make this go viral, y'all. I'm making these songs out for our people. Let's make it go viral. You understand? So We All Be is more than just words. It's about action and remembering our history, because our story needs to get some glory. So we're gonna do it like this. Like this, y'all. I'm gonna close it out. Thank y'all for tuning out to tune in to get it where you don't fit in. So We All Be, because like MLK said, human salvation lies in the hands of the creatively maladjusted. Can I get a what hootie hoo? Bow down. So We All Be. News free Dixie for 21st century. One love.
Why are you not getting powerful erections even after taking an ED medication? It comes down